Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Giant Mess. I am your host, Neal Lynch. I am a giant mess. I'm a Giants and Mets fan who loves movies, television, comedy, and a whole lot more. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about my top Halloween costumes that I've ever worn in my lifetime, my favorite Halloween movies that I like to watch over and over again, Mr. Robot episode 4, Watchmen episode 2, this week in Mets history as the Mets managerial search goes on and on and on. And years from now, we'll look back and say, wow, I can't believe we've been looking for a manager this long. We still don't have a manager. Wow. And we'll finish up with the Giants' Week 8 loss to the Lions, along with a preview of Week 9 versus the Cowboys, and that infuriating trade for Leonard Williams. So let's get started. My mom's birthday was last Wednesday. I didn't mention it on the show, and apologies to her and apologies to anyone having a birthday. I feel like birthday wishes are getting a little out of control. You know, you can't just say happy birthday on one platform, like text. You can't just call and say happy birthday. You gotta post on their Facebook wall, Instagram direct message, you gotta tweet at them, you gotta fax them, you gotta beep them. It's, you know, you have to, like, across the board. It's not a complete birthday wish until you nail every single platform. I got her some kind of like dream catcher thing and a box of chocolates. Godiva truffle chocolates that are way too expensive and apparently take forever to ship and cost a lot to ship because God forbid a chocolate breaks. I guess there needs to be extreme fragile care and shipping and handling when handling chocolates. The dream catcher, I don't know. It seems overpriced to me. I haven't even touched it, or I've seen it, but I haven't touched it or felt it, and it looks cool. But you know, that's to me is a little overpriced. It's a thing you hang and it blows in the wind. Okay, great. Last year, I made a photo slideshow video for her. She turned 70, you know, and I know you're not supposed to mention the lady's age, but we're in a new age, and I'm a new age feminist. Embrace your age. I'm 38. There, I said it. Wow. I made a photo slide video show, whatever you want to call it, had 69 photos, nice, of me and her through the years. So from when I was a baby up until now. And then I finished out the video by saying, hopefully this is 70 moments for your 70th birthday. Here's 69 photos, and I hope this video, this compilation, can be the 70th memory for your birthday. And, you know, I posted that link to her Facebook wall this year just to be like, you know, get it out there. You know, it's unlisted on YouTube. It's not searchable on YouTube. It's not public. It's unlisted. So you can just share the link, and if you have the link, you can see it. If you don't, you can't. And I got a lot of comments and a lot of likes and whatnot. And then there was some random guy that I don't know. I assume he grew up with my mother because he's the same age. And he leaves a comment. Quote, I remember being a kid in the side yard in the barrel and walking the fence badly. I remember the sandies and the forest. Kids, huh? Come on, guy. What are you doing? You're hijacking my birthday wish for my mother. This is a moment. This is the 71st moment for her 71st birthday between me and her. We're having it. And you're coming in, you're like, hey, remember sandies? Which I assume are like candles or candies or sandals. One of those three. Maybe all three. Maybe you can wear them on your feet, you can light them on fire, and you can eat them when they're done. I don't know. But come on, guy, don't do that. Don't hijack someone else's moment. That's something I would do. And of course, last Thursday night, today is Halloween. Happy Halloween to everyone. It's very dreary. It's raining, and supposedly, I guess this is a new rule. Didn't know this. Kids can't trick or treat in the rain? What happened then? When was that decided? That's a new thing. I remember there were several Halloweens where, you know, we made it work. We came home drenched, but we were still pumped because we got all kinds of candy. You know, and that's the best part. You go out in the rain, no umbrella, no poncho. You raw dog it out in the rain, and you come back and you get out of your wet costume. You toss it aside. Hopefully in the laundry room. And then you don't know what to do. Should I take a shower? Should I take a bath and then the candy? Should I do candy, then the shower, the bath? Either way, you're excited. Now it's like, oh, Halloween's postponed. It's like a baseball game now. Postpone Halloween. We don't want anyone hurting themselves in the rain. I mean, and now there's talk about we need to go to the mall, and there's like trunk or treat, which I don't understand. What is trunk or treat? That came to my life this year. Have never heard of it before this year. And all of a sudden I keep seeing it. Hey, trunk or treat. Don't forget Halloween, trunk or treat. And I'm like, someone explain it. Everyone's talking about it, and no one's explaining it. Got a lot of noobs. There are a lot of noobs every year in the parenting world. Get us up to speed. I heard that you decorate a trunk, and it's a theme, and your costumes have to match the theme of the trunk. And then what's in the trunk? Is candy in the trunk? I don't know. Anyway, I went to my buddy's birthday dinner in the city, which, is just, we moved to the wrong place in New Jersey. We're in an area that is supposedly like it's near a lot of transportation, public transportation, and it all takes forever to get to the city. And the schedules suck. It's like we'll have a bus every half hour to an hour until noon, and then nothing till 4 or 5, 6 o'clock at night. It's like, okay. And then, the train, same thing. It's just like it sucks. So I had to take an Uber, and I was supposed to be there at 8:30. I didn't get there till fucking 9. Because the Uber guy was like, as soon as he picks me up, he's like, where are you going? I go, the city. He goes, nope, can't do it. I was like, oh, what is going on here? Like, why can't you just, they should let you know before you come that you're going into the city. Just do it, because this like haggling and negotiating and bartering for a ride fucking sucks. So he had to drop me off at Hoboken, and then I had to take the path, and then I had to walk from the path to the Beatrice Inn in the West Village. And I realized that I knew I was out of shape, but like even just jogging the crosswalk, that little half jog you do, so you show the cars, hey, I'm making an effort. I'm not slowly walking like a snail or an old lady with a walker. Like I'm trying to do you a solid by half jogging across, and even that little half jog, my knee felt like I was going to give out. My left knee. It's been surgically repaired twice, and it's just like as I'm half jogging, and I'm just like, I don't know. And now it's like, I don't know if I should ever work out again. Now I'm worried that if I work out, like I'm just going to make things worse. So I'll just slowly deteriorate into a pile of dust. That's the plan. But the Beatrice Inn, it's not on the corner. There's a normal restaurant on the corner. Normal restaurant. Nice glass windows. You can see inside. There's an entrance that's clearly marked as the entrance. Beatrice Inn is like, there's a huge sign, vertical sign that glows, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is the place. Where's the entrance? And you look below the sign. There's nothing there. Just wall. And then you look to the right, and there's a door up some stairs, but there's a buzzer, and you're like, I gotta buzz into this restaurant? Have I been duped? Is this actually like Beatrice's apartment, and she's like operating some kind of weird B&B out of her New York City apartment? And then you look down to the right, and it's like, finally, okay, I get it. I got to walk down the stairs into the basement. Like, come on. Like, and I get it. In New York, you have to stand out. You have to be unique. You have to be different. Ooh. And it's like, people are so fucking jaded in the city that it has to be like unmarked secret entrance. Ooh. It's like, come on. Just operate a normal restaurant, normal entrance, give me good food. I don't give a shit about ambience at this point. I just want food, and it's probably because it's 9 o'clock and I was starving and I'm fat. So in the basement of the Beatrice Inn, my buddy, I was like, order whatever drinks you want. I'll have whatever you're having. And he orders this drink where they do the smoke. That's the kind of restaurant it is, where they come out with like, it's some kind of tray with like a lid, and it's like all this smoke, and you're like, ooh, smoke. And then they take off the lid, and the smoke comes out, and everyone's like, wow, smoke. And it's like, none of you have seen smoke before? I don't care for the smoky drinks. I don't want smoke in my drink. It's just something, it's like, hey, let's just have a bonfire. We'll put out the fire, and then we'll take a log, and then we'll suck on the log for a little bit. How's that for smoke? Jesus. And food was great, porterhouse, crispy potatoes au gratin, chicken liver pate, oysters, old fashioned, obviously, and some red wine. Good to go. Through and through, great food. The water guy was on top of things. I've never seen a water guy this on top of things. Take a sip, pour. I take a sip, he pours. I take a sip, he pours. It's like, dude, you can let it go down a little bit. I'm not going to get like feisty with you if my water's, all the way down. Yeah, so that was fun. We had a big discussion about the LSATs. I took the LSATs, FYI, DYK, Dick, did you know? For your information, I took the LSATs and I got 154. It's average. It's about as average as you can get. It's slightly above the median. I think, in my eyes, it was like, okay, I'm probably not going to be a good lawyer. And should I be going to law school if I'm not going to be a good lawyer? I don't know. No offense to anyone who got a 154 and went to law school and became a lawyer. I'm not saying that you can learn and be better as you go along. I just thought, hey, if I score 160 or above, I'm going to law school. But I scored a 154. So I was like, you know what? Maybe there's another calling out there for me. And newsflash, 2002, 2003, Neal, there's not. You suck at everything. You're not good at anything. You're average at everything. So just pick up root and go for it. God damn. So, I was hungover on Friday. I had to watch the baby and I was hungover, and it was just like, it's kind of like when, a teacher goes out and gets hammered and then they call out the next day and a substitute teacher has to come in and they just wheel in the TV on the cart with the VCR and they stick a movie in, a VHS movie. And they're like, hey, here you go, kids. This is somewhat kind of related to what we're studying. We're in AP Physics. I'm going to show you Back to the Future because Back to the Future is a crock of shit, according to AP Physics. That was me on Friday watching the baby. It was just like, I'm going to roll in the TV. We're going to pop on some baby first TV and let you learn on your own pace. So later that night, we ordered Five Guys. I wanted to order Burger King because Grubhub had this free delivery type thing going on, and I was like, awesome. And so I clicked through, and the estimated delivery time is like 80 to 90 minutes. And I'm like, it sucks, but I'm in my jammies. I'm hungover. I don't really want to go out. Bring it to me. And as I'm trying to get my wife's order, the time just keeps climbing up. So that by the time I add to the cart and about to press checkout, it's 110 to 120 minutes. What are we doing, folks? Why? At that point, just say we're not delivering. Just who's going to order and be like, 2 hours from now, I'm going to have that food. It's going to be great. No thanks. So we ordered Five Guys. I picked it up. I actually summoned the energy to shake off the cobwebs and the rust and get in the car and go to Five Guys to pick up our order. And pro tip, if you're not familiar with Five Guys and you want a regular burger, don't order the regular burger. The regular burger is like a quad stack burger from Burger King. Okay? It's like two huge beef patties smushed together. All right? So if you want a normal sized burger for a normal sized human being, you order like the little burger. But that's how they get you. They kind of, it's like a little challenge. It's a little nip at you. They're guilting you into ordering the big boy burger. Because like if you don't order the regular burger, you can order a little burger. Or the little fries. And it's like, I'm a grown man. I can't be ordering a little burger and little fries. That's just not, that is not kosher. It doesn't align with who I am, my brand. So stupid. But I did order the little fries. And here's a pro tip. Here's why. It doesn't matter what size fries you order because they will fill the cup, whatever size cup you have, and then they will dump an excessive amount of fries on top of that in the bag. Like if you're getting takeout, that's going to happen. They'll fill up the cup and they'll be like, nope, just a mound of fries on top of that. So you don't need to order regular fries when you go there. Little fries is fine. Little fries is like 5 extra large fries from McDonald's. Saturday, we drove down to Mercer County area to go to Cassie's aunt's place. They sold their house, and then now they're renting a house, and they claim they want to downsize, but the house that they were in that they sold was huge. And then they rented a house, and the house that they rented is almost twice the size that the house that they were in. That was huge. And then they're trying to tell us as we're sitting there and talking to them about how the houses that they're looking at to buy, they're like, we're looking to downsize. And I'm like, you rented a mansion, okay? The West Wing has a West Wing. Like what? There could be people living here, numerous families living here, and you wouldn't know it because it's just so goddamn big. And that's, that my brain would start going to overdrive looking at this house because it's like, I would Airbnb the shit out of this mansion. Are you kidding me? Like, you get this half of the basement, you get this half of the basement, you get that corner, you get that corner, you get this quarter, you get that room. Like, you could pay off this house in like a year with all the Airbnb cash that's coming in. Lovely house. I mean, but to rent a house like that, it's just like, what are you paying in rent? Good God, you have to pay in gold bars and trust funds. What? How do you? What? But we had a good time, and the only part that kind of threw me off, that made me question myself and my parenting abilities, which I do on a daily basis, so it's not that uncommon. But they have my aunt-in-law, I guess you'd say, and her husband. They have like these animatronic things that they bring out for Halloween. So they have a kind of a mad scientist looking guy that looks like Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. That's 2 Back to the Future references. What up? And they have a witch. So the mad scientist is out and is just standing in a room, and that's creepy on its own. But they brought the kids. So Cassie's cousins from her dad's brother, her uncle's kids, the cousins, yeah. They bring out the animatronic witch, and this thing is real. Got to be at least 4 figures, the cost. This thing is real. This thing scared me, okay? They brought it out, and it looks like a real person in makeup. And then it's motion censored, so you turn it on, motion censored, and it kind of comes alive, and it says these really, evil-sounding stuff. Like, and then like cackles, and you're just like, this is freaking me out. I don't know about the kids. I mean, the kids got to be shitting their britches. And of course, Bree is like staring at this thing, and I'm like, I am scarring this baby for life. This is where it happens. I say to myself as I have this kid, I will not let what happened to me and what my mom let happen to me happen to her, and it's happening right now. My mom let me watch Poltergeist in 1982 when I was like 2, and I have night terrors. So I'm like, okay, so this animatronic witch, is that what's going to trigger this night terror syndrome? Is that what's going to set her down a horrible path? And then one of the kids who's like 8 or 9, Cassie's cousins, turn on. They're like, "Can we watch Scream 4? Can we watch Scream 4?" And of course, the aunt and the 2 aunts and whatever, the mom, are like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm just sitting here going, I don't know about this. What are we doing, folks? And of course, Bree wanders over, and all I hear, because I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and all I hear is like slashing, squirting, blood squirting, slashing of the knife, stabbing, and screams. And I'm just like, all right, well, if the witch didn't do it, then Scream 4 definitely did. So, sorry, Bree, if you're watching this years from now, my bad. Should have stepped in. Should have been better about that. Oh. And then Tuesday night rolls around, and I'm trying to, there's that time period where you put the kid to bed, and then there's like hurricane disaster relief. Like natural disaster relief then takes place, because like the hurricane has come through and gone and passed, and now we got to deal with the aftermath. We're now looking at the damages to our domicile. And so I'm picking stuff up, I'm trying to make sense of it all. And there's this little green thing on the floor, and I'm like, oh, it's she eats broccoli curls. So they're like Cheetos, cheese puffs, but they're like covered in like broccoli dust. I don't know. She likes it. That's interesting. I go down to pick it up, and I pick it up, and as soon as I touch it, I'm like, this does not feel dry, and this does not feel like a cheese puff poof thing. And I squeeze a little bit, and I'm like, ooh, okay. It's a little squishy. And then I to my nose, and yep, that's poop. I told my wife this, and I was like, yeah, it was poop. And she's like, well, is it the babies or is it the cats? And I'm thinking to myself, think you missed the point. I picked up a piece of shit thinking it was a girl. But yeah, in her head, that's how responsible and next level she is as a parent. She's like, well, if it's the baby, we got to think about house training the baby. If it's a cat, maybe we have to alter their diet because they can't control it, and like the kitty litter and then she's thinking all those things, whereas I'm like, I picked up a piece of poop, laugh at me. Yeah, and that's life. So let's talk about my top Halloween costumes that I've ever worn. From 80 to 86, I couldn't tell you. I really don't remember a lot of that. I think it was a bat or Batman at one point. 87 is when I start remembering, and I have pictures that I've collected and scanned and whatnot. So 87. All right, we're in Seagirt, New Jersey. We just left Lawrenceville, New Jersey. We're kind of in between houses. We're staying at my grandparents' house, at their house on the beach, which is, fantastic. Wish we still had that house. And Mommy, that's a simple costume, right? All you got to do is get some toilet paper, paper towels, whatever, and just tape it, glue it, tape it, staple it to your body, wrap it around, and you're good to go. But we had to go next level. We get a little too creative for our own good. And my mom decides that we're going to make a paper mache mask that ended up looking like a helmet of like an astronaut from a black and white silent film. Like before astronauts were a real thing that could actually go to the moon and space, this is what, sci-fi writers thought astronauts would look like. It's just like the little cutout where the eyes are. And that's on top of just a normal mummy costume. So I look like a mummy astronaut, like an astronaut who is like, if I travel to Mars and I die, please bury me like a mummy. That was 87. This could have been 88 or 89. I'm not really sure. I went as Steve Urkel from Family Matters, and I did not use blackface. So kudos to me. Pat on the back for old Neal for not doing blackface. I mean, that's how ahead of my time I was, and that's how woke I was as an 8-year-old. So stupid. 90, no idea. 91, no idea. 92, no idea. I want to say 91 or 92 is when The Undertaker premiered in the WWF, and I immediately fell in love, and I probably went as The Undertaker one of those years. 91 or 92, can't really remember. 93, this one's a little, and this will speak to who I am as a person and why no one understands me. No, Coca-Cola had a marketing campaign, an ad campaign called Monsters of the Gridiron. Okay, this is 93. And they would dress up different NFL stars from each team, like the top guy from each team. They'd dress them up as like these Halloween characters. Some of them made sense. Some of them were scary. Some of them were like, are you kidding me? Here are some examples. Randall Cunningham from the Eagles was Rocket Man. Okay. Rocket Man. They dressed him as like a human rocket with he looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad in their suits towards the end of Jingle All the Way. You remember Jingle All the Way, where it's like whoever that the superhero was that Arnold Schwarzenegger ended up playing, and then Sinbad played the villain. If you mash those two up, that's what Rocket Man looked like. Randall. Whew. Chris Dolman from the Vikings, D-end. He was Dr. Doomsday. I like that. Garrison Hurst from the Phoenix Cardinals was Hearse. I mean, can we get any lazier than that? Just drop the T and he's like, what, a limo that's where transports dead people? Okay. Joe Jacoby was from the Redskins. Offensive lineman was Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. Howie Long from the Los Angeles Raiders was Howlin', which, okay, a little lazy, but also a werewolf, so I'll give you credit. Emmett Smith from the Cowboys was Lone Star Sheriff. He looked like a mechanical robot cowboy. I don't know what was going on there. And then Lawrence Taylor from the Giants was Six Gun. I think we got two Cowboys now? What's going on here? That was disappointing. Andre Tippett, who I always thought, he's a linebacker for the Patriots. I thought he was like the Lawrence Taylor of the Patriots, but not as good. He was Andre the Terrible. 94 to 97, these are the high school years. Just didn't dress up. I was like, trick-or-treating's for kids. Not a kid, I'm a big boy. And meanwhile, it's like, I have milk and cookies as I watch a scary movie under the sheets. Like, looking back, it was a major mistake. I think I should have dressed up and gone out and had some fun. Instead, nope. Stayed at home and watched Scary movies. 98, 99, 2000. This is freshman, sophomore, junior year in college. I don't think I dressed up. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I dressed up at all. I tend to, my brain was so soaked in booze at that point. So it's like, best not to remember. But I do remember senior year, there was a sorority formal. I was invited. Shocker. It was a Kappa Alpha Theta formal. And I dressed up as like a monk. Now, not a Buddhist monk, but like a friar monk, I guess. A friar monk, just like the brown robe. Very simple, very chic, very elegant, very functional. You don't have to put on a lot of makeup. It's just throw it on, you're ready to go. And you can, and should you be in a situation where you get heated and you wanna go do some sexy times, then boom, it comes right off. It's like very lift it up or whatever. And then 2002, I got lazy. I went as a monk again. Now, this is after I graduated college. I'd moved back home. I was working as a waiter at this kind of fancy fine dining restaurant that sucked. And one of my coworkers, a waiter, very tall gentleman, 6'4", 6'5", without shoes, okay, and gay. He was gay. And, good-looking dude. We went to a house party with all the wait staff, and I dressed as a monk, wanted to use the bathroom. There's a line. There's only one bathroom, so I'm like, fuck this. I'm going outside. I'm going to take a whiz outside. Go outside, take a whiz, and I hear something behind me. I turn around, and it's this guy. And he is dressed as, what is Tim Curry's character's name in Rocky Horror Picture Show? Rocky? No. Like, Frankenstein? Whoever that character is, with the fishnet stockings and the makeup and the black wig and high heels. I mean, this guy was 6'4", 6'5", no heels. He was 6'9" with heels. I mean, just towering over me. It was like Independence Day. I saw the shadow come over me from behind. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to lose my butt virginity. And nothing happened. But it was a tense moment because it's like, this is a big dude in some high heels, and he's already been pretty aggressive. Like, I let him have a little peck on the kiss on the cheek, because I'm like, you know what, just hopefully a little taste will dabble do you, and not realizing that, hey, Neal, you're leading him on, you're a straight guy, what are you doing? But I didn't want to be a homophobe and homophobic, even though now I'm coming across as homophobic. It's like, well, what whatever. 2003, I was still at this point, I guess I was living with my grandparents, yikes, and working in the city. And every weekend I would go down to Baltimore because that's where my buddies were from college. They had lived in Baltimore and D.C. And so I'd go down every weekend. And Halloween weekend went down, and my buddy dressed up as free mustache rides. So he had just a plain white T-shirt. He had a fake mustache, a big afro wig, and just on the shirt said "Free Mustache Rides" with a little arrow pointing up, just in case you were wondering where the mustache was on his body. And it great success. It worked. He hooked up. Congrats to him. I went as Money Shot. So I wore a white T-shirt. I drew like a target on it, like archery target, and I stapled a dollar bill to the bullseye. Money Shot. And I think I might have written Money Shot on the back just to clarify. So, if you walk by someone, they're like, what the fuck? And then they see money. Oh, okay. And I did not hook up. So mustache rides is risque, lewd, whatever, crude, but works. Because it's like, hey, I'm a giver. Money Shot's like, do I really want that? Do I want a money shot? No. So it makes sense now that I'm thinking about it. 2004, I went as, this was when I was living in Hoboken, my first apartment in Hoboken, my first legit apartment after college. I lived with 3 other people. One of the roommates was like almost never around. One of the roommates had a guy friend who brought his guy friends, and they were awesome. It was like one of those situations where you're like starting to get this is a month into living in this new apartment, so I didn't really know the roommate that well. And then, I'm like, all right, I don't know what to think about this roommate. I don't know if we're going to jive or whatever. And then her friend comes over, a guy friend, not a boyfriend, with his friends, and they're awesome. And you're like, okay, I want to be part of this group now. I'm part of this group now. This is awesome. I'm part of it. And then after a while, there's all these inside jokes, and you're just like, you're kind of tired of asking them about the story for every inside joke they do. Like the first couple times you're like, oh, what? I want to know about that. And after a while, you're like, I don't know. I mean, yeah. This is tough. Playing catch up all the time. But I dressed up as a Slim Jim. These dudes dressed up as Ghostbusters, which is perfect. There was 4 of them. My friend's friend dressed up as Rosie the Riveter, I think, maybe. I can't remember. And I don't even remember what my roommate dressed up as. That's pretty pathetic on my part. But we went to this masquerade at the Puck Building in New York City. Can't remember where that was. Big, huge place. And we pre-gamed way too hard. It was when Snoop Dogg's, that song, Snoop, when that song came out, that's all we played. And we pre-gamed to that the entire time. And it got, music has a funny way of impacting you, influencing you. And the music got to us. There are songs that just get to you, and you're like, you can't help yourself but drink more. And that's what happened with that Snoop Dogg song. So we went to the Puck Building, and I ended up running into a coworker and hooked up with her. And, there's a saying, don't dip your pen in the company ink. And I 1,000% get it and believe it now. At the time, when you're 22, 23, you're like, I'm invincible. Nothing can faze me. Your sayings and rules and policies and all these philosophies, they do not apply to me because I'm young, dumb, and full of cum. Like, I am better than this. I'm smarter. I'm stronger. Like, it will not affect me. I defy you. That's essentially 22, 23 in a nutshell. So I made the mistake, hooked up with her. And of course I slipped over because that's what I do. Tired and drunk in a costume. And it's like, well, I'm, dude, I can't. I woke up and I was like, I can't go back in this costume, in a Slim Jim costume. It's morning. I can't do it. And so she helped me out and hooked me up with her male roommate's clothes that fit. They were like Jenko jeans and like a very ill-fitting shirt. And it's like I was almost felt like I was wearing a worse Halloween costume than the Slim Jim costume. I almost prefer the Slim Jim costume to wear back than these Jenko jeans and this ill-fitting shirt. I looked like, a junkie groupie for a ska band, And then I'd wash the clothes and bring them back to her. I made the mistake of putting them in a bag and walking over to her and dropping it on her desk. And the whole little pen of hens that were around were gobbling and goobling and chirping and chattering about, ooh. It's like, that's what happens when you work with all women and you're only guy. Like, this is gossip. So I did not do well in keeping that on the down low. 05, I don't think I dressed up. And I think it's because we went to a Rutgers homecoming game, maybe, and we hung out in the parking lot. This is right after I had surgery on my shoulder, so I was in a sling, still crushing beers, but on painkillers. Way to go, Neal. In a sling. And then we ended up going to someone's like off-campus apartment to keep the party going. And one of my buddies dressed up as Aladdin, no brown face. So 2 for 2. I was Urkel, no blackface. He was Aladdin, no brown face. It can be done, people. It can be done. 06. Oh, well, 05. To finish that story, I went on I was in a strict, no carb type thing in 05. And I just was raiding their fridge, eating slices of cheese like a fucking rat the entire night. It was disgusting. Just a Kraft American Singles slice after slice after slice. I also got a call from someone that night and had a very lengthy conversation, a very enthusiastic, bubbly conversation with this person. And for a long period of time, hung up, didn't know who it was. Couldn't tell you worth a damn who it was that night. And then the next day, still didn't know, but I knew that I was going to meet them at the Giants game because it was Giants-Redskins. And it wasn't until much later in the week or so, that I found out was my buddy, who eventually would become a groomsman in my wedding. But I had just met him that previous summer, and I hadn't talked to him for a while, and I forgot that he had my number. And so it was just like, that's me. If you want to get a little deeper insight into who I am, I will have full-on drunken conversations with people I do not know on the phone and have a great time doing it. 06. So I was with my girlfriend in 05. 06, we had broken up, and I went as Hannibal Lecter. But the twist, because there always has to be a twist with me, I can't just be Hannibal Lecter. There's got to be something else unique about it, because I'm an idiot. I had a Sharpie. So, of course, the Hannibal Lecter costume is the mask with the 3 little things in the front. And then you have the straitjacket and the white, you dress up as Hannibal Lecter in the psych ward, getting wheeled around. Didn't have the cart. That would have been sweet if my buddy carted me around, but there's no way. If it was like a house party in a big house, maybe. But we're going to like a club, a bar. So I decided I'm going to bring out a Sharpie so people can write messages on me, because my getup is white. I have like white head to toe, straight jacket, pants, whatever. Thinking like, this will be my in with chicks. Because at that point, you're anything, I'm not good talking to women. I was not good being single, A. And so I was not good talking to women, B. And so C, it's like I see like the game, mystery, like Neal, whatever, in the game and mystery, the pickup artists, and they're doing all this crazy shit. And it's like, I guess I got to do this now. Like, I can't just go up and say, hi, I'm Neal. So I was like, I'll have a Sharpie and I'll go up to chicks, ladies, women, and I'll hand them the Sharpie and I'll say, hey, write a message, thinking like, oh, maybe this will be, they'll write something funny. Nope. It was all just, I'm fag, I suck dick, I'm gay, put a dick in me. Like, it was just all very horrible, derogatory slurs, and yeah, big mistake, which was compounded by the fact that my buddy found a girl and was, going to seal the deal. I mean, this girl, how women can do splits. They're in a standing position and they go down the ground and they do a split on the ground. This woman was doing like a vertical split. So she was able to put her leg like 180 from her other leg in the bar, and not wearing anything and wearing something very revealing. And I was like, well, it's all locked and loaded. And I was the wingman who would entertain the friend. And the friend kind of looked like Drew Barrymore meets the chick from Go and Dawn of the Dead. And Morgan? Is it called Morgan? Something like that. So I'm wearing Under Armour underneath all this Hannibal Lecter garb, and her bedroom is, and I promise it's not going to get anywhere graphic, so don't get all spooked. Her bedroom, no windows, no ventilation. There was a door, and it was just like a shoebox. And so I'm in the Under Armour, and they got the heat on. I'm sweating my balls off, and eventually it's just like, I'm just gonna go to sleep, and because I don't want to abandon my guy who's in the other area doing his thing. I still have to entertain the lady friend, because if I don't, she'll get up and be like, hey, what are you guys doing in there? And it's like, all right, I gotta play defense now. Box out. Not to say, you know what I mean. If you're a guy, you know what I mean. If you're a girl, you're probably like, oh no, don't clutch your pearls. Long story short, I wake up the next morning, and this is not a coworker who had interest in me. This is just a random person, and they don't have men's clothes for me because they don't live with a guy. So now I'm walking back. I'm going through Port Authority Sunday morning. I think the fucking marathon's going on, and there's just families everywhere. Sunday morning, that's like family time. We're going to venture out in the world as a family. And I'm walking through Port Authority with all kinds of crazy rude, crude sayings all over me, written. And you can see the kids. I can see with my two eyes. I'm like trying not to make eye contact with anyone, but I can see and hear out of my periph, Daddy, what's a cock? Daddy, what's a fag? Daddy, what's this? Daddy, mommy, what's this? Just peppering their parents with questions that the parents did not think that they would have to answer at this earliest stage in their life. But it's like, hey, you come out in public in New York, you're going to see some shit. So that sucked. 2007, I dressed up as Chaz Michael Michaels, who is Will Ferrell's character in Blades of Glory, one of the more underrated movies out there, one of the most underrated comedies out there. I'd put it almost top 10. I'd put it top 10, almost. Top 20 for sure, top 15 probably, top 10 almost. And I bought mine, and then I bought ice. So Chaz Michael Michaels is fire. And then I bought the ice costume worn by Jimmy McElroy, played by Napoleon Dynamite, John Heater. And great success. I think everyone loved that. It just come out like, I think earlier that year, February, January. And so people were down with that costume. It was a great Halloween. I don't think I hooked up, but good Halloween. 2008. I was now working at Playboy. I was a couple months into Playboy, and so I was able to get my hands on an authentic Playboy bunny costume, bunny tail. And I used that, and I bought like a little singlet type thing, wore the fishnet stockings, had the cufflinks, which I always thought that was interesting. Like, it's just cufflinks, but there's no sleeve. It's just the cufflinks, the cuffs and the cufflinks, and then the bunny ears and sunglasses, because I don't want to make eye contact with anyone. That was a good time. We ended up going to my buddy's place in the city. He lived right by the Best Buy at 23rd, and we decided, hey, we're not going to pregame inside. That's stupid. Why are we going to pregame inside with each other? Let's go down to the street level. We'll put our shit in paper bags and we'll drink and we'll just survey the crowd. And I'm like, yeah, this will be great. You know, of course, I on the subway ride over, and I had a flip phone at that time because flip phones were, you know, where it's at. I didn't have an iPhone. Sorry. So I put the flip phone, you know, right where the singlet ends, right where my boobs should be. I don't have any boobs. And rode the path over, and just people just firing off pictures left and right. My buddy was dressed as Pee Wee Herman. Another guy dressed as a construction worker. And then my other buddy was dressed as a rugby player. But we went down the street level outside of his apartment, and everyone is stopping and taking pictures of me. I should have charged. I would have made a cool foul, at least, just charging $1 or $5 a head for pictures. Probably the most awkward of the pictures is when a little kid sees you and sees, oh, a bunny. You're a bunny rabbit. Not knowing it, you know, it's a Playboy bunny. It's a lady who removes her clothes for money. But you're a bunny. You're a bunny rabbit. Can I have a picture? And I'm just like, ooh, okay, here we go. If mom and dad are cool with it, and they're like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, here we go. And of course, just like every other Halloween, I find myself not sleeping at my own apartment. I find myself sleeping somewhere else. And this time I didn't hook up with anyone, but I ended up meeting up with some people from my shore house, went back with them. It's their apartment in Hoboken, which is about 6 or 7 blocks away. And it's like, just take your fat, drunk ass home, Neal. You're 6 blocks away. The sun's not out yet. Just go. But I was having too good a time. And then you're too drunk, you're having too good a time, and then all of a sudden it's like things just really slow down real quick, and then you're asleep. And you wake up and the sun's out, and you're like, God damn it. Luckily, these shore housemates were ladies. Because if they were guys, they're dudes, I'm definitely doing the walk of shame home as the Playboy bunny. 100%, no doubt. But they were ladies, and they felt pity and shame, and they couldn't do it to me. And God bless them. They gave me, the one girl's boyfriend had shorts and shirt. I got that, and I was able to walk home with a little bit of dignity. But good God. This was right when the iPhone was starting to hit it big. If I'd walked home at in the morning, Playboy bunny costume, 9 a.m., day after Halloween, didn't even hook up. I mean, that's the real walk of shame, when you don't even hook up and you stay over someone's place and you got to go home in your Halloween costume. That's the true walk of shame. 2009, I had a work event. I was working at Playboy at this point, and we had a campus cutie sweepstakes. So it was, enter your information and we'll draw a winner. And if you win, we're going to come to your campus with our campus cutie, Playboy model, and some other playmates and whatnot. And we're going to throw a party at your campus bar. Whatever campus bar is popular, we're going to throw a party there. You're going to be the guest of honor VIP. Free drinks all night, free whatever. It's an experience. And so someone from the University of Colorado Boulder won. And because I'd never been to Boulder, and I've always liked the University of Colorado, dating back to when I was a kid, and Cordell Stewart was the quarterback, and Eric Bieniemy, and I guess Ray Caruth. Yikes, Ray Caruth. Ooh. But so we had the event at a campus bar, and I dressed up as Jackie Moon, the starting forward / owner of the Flint Tropics from the hit comedy Semi-Pro. Great costume. I tend to look like Will Ferrell in the right light. If you catch me and squint your eyes, turn your head, I kind of look like Will Ferrell. And so that worked out like a charm. I met my buddy from high school was out there. I met my buddy from college was out there. Hitting it off with a firefighter. Ended up hitting it off with a friend of the winner of the sweepstakes. And I had a poor performance later that night. You're an adult. You fill in the gaps. I'm going to make some excuses right here. I know, no excuses to play like a champion. I'm going to make some excuses. Number one excuse, altitude, okay? We're in the Denver area, mile high. My body is not used to that. It's my first time in the area. My body's not used to being that high up without being in a plane. Altitude definitely affect my performance. I was drinking whiskey or rum or something. I was on a kick and I drank a lot of that thinking I will be strong like bull. Because usually when I drink those type of rum or whiskey, I don't get the whiskey D or I get the rum punch is what I call it. And, normally that's what gives me the edge. And I'm able to really pack a punch and go all 12 rounds as it were. And it backfired. I think that plus the altitude plus the jet lag. Okay. It was that I flew in like that day, maybe the night before, and I don't think I had acclimated yet. I have not adjusted. So that's why if we're having a post-game press conferences and I'm supposed to say like, get them next time day by day, we're fighting hard out there. Nope. I'm making excuses. 2010, I was the comedian from Watchmen. A lot of people were like, my friends were like, you're an idiot. No one watched Watchmen. No one's going to know who you are. You're going to have to explain yourself all night. It's so stupid. And of course we go to the bar and guess who I see across the bar? Locked eyes. It was another comedian. Yep. So we got together, we had a photo, it was a great time. I will say, having to bite down on a cigar all night, not great, especially when you can't light it. But that night ended fairly well. But I will say this, I ruined a lady's bed sheets. Completely ruined them. Because I did the eye black, because you're supposed to do the eye black under the mask. That's the secret. Little pro tip. And then I dyed my hair black because it's not black, it's brown, to be like the comedian. And that all came off all over the bed sheets. So apologies for completely ruining your sheets. And I can only imagine what the footage of this little hookup looked like, because it's got to be one of probably the funniest thing ever. And that's what I love about Halloween. Is that you get to be someone else. You just pretend to be someone else. The other people are pretending they're someone else. And it's just like fantasy land for adults. It's just like we can hook up with each other because we don't necessarily really know what each other look like. We're in disguise. And then, I wish there was like not a Pornhub channel, but I guess, a Pornhub channel where it's just like Halloween category. And it's all these different people, amateurs, pros, I don't know, who are in garb, costume, hooking up with each other. Cause I bet it looks hilarious, especially the morning after. And, there was something very funny about being in the shower and things are happening in the shower. And then you just see like the black pouring down my face. And it's just like, I can't imagine what this looks like on the other end. Apologies to everyone who's sensitive to that kind of material. This is very graphic. I apologize. But like, I think that's funny, You're trying to get down to biz, you're serious action, and then there's like, I can't imagine what I look like now. I must look like a fucking loony. 2011, we had a wedding at a mansion. So I had a girlfriend at this time, and we had a wedding at her at a mansion that was perfect for a haunted house. And to me, it's like, if you're throwing a wedding Halloween weekend, people are allowed to dress up. You should be allowed to dress up. Like, and I know that the brides out there are going to be like, no, F that. This is my lifelong dream, whatever. 90% of the grooms are going to be like, yeah, hell yeah. Let's dress up in costumes for our wedding. I mean, that's amazing. Instead, it was like a black tie affair. And I think they handed out like those like glasses that you hold up with the mustache, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess, whatever. Good time, but it's just like, if you're gonna have a Halloween wedding, you gotta let people dress up. 2012, I went. Originally, it was supposed to be the banana from It's Peanut Butter Jelly Time, Peanut Butter Jelly Time, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. And then it just completely went off the rails from there. I got the banana costume and I had the gloves, but then I was wearing like fangs and I had a badge. I just bought like a bunch of like accessories at a Halloween store. I was like, oh, that could be funny, that could be cool. And then you throw that all together and it's just it's a giant mess. Like, no one knows what the fuck you are, Neal. And then we went to a friend's place in the city for a Halloween party, and they had a hammock, and I was like, oh, so I can be a banana hammock. Again, like, no one knows that this rope thing is a hammock when it's draped over you. And, it's just a lot of explanation that you'd think I would learn my lesson after all these years. Just go, keep it simple, stupid. Don't get too complex with it. But I wanted as a banana hammock, and this was right before Sandy, and I always thought that would make for, and I'm giving away $1 billion idea. It would make for a great movie, because all these natural disaster movies, and I'm not trying to minimalize or marginalize those who were affected by Sandy. My uncles were affected by Sandy. It's a serious event. It was horrible and put a lot of people out of business and blah, blah. I get all that. I'm saying, if Sandy happened, like ended up happening like that weekend, that week, what if it happened like Halloween night and we didn't know? Like, it just came out of nowhere. We thought it was going to come 2 days later. It came Halloween night. And then you have all these people in their Halloween costumes trying to like figure shit out as a natural disaster is happening. I just thought like that, to me, and I might even incorporate that into a script I'm writing, because it's again, I'm mashing up way too many genres and things, and it's going to come out looking like I don't know what, tuna casserole meets a fruitcake type thing. But yeah, so it was a banana hammock, and then Sandy hit. But I was like, man, if talk about like getting caught with your pants down. I mean, hooking up and staying over and then having to do a walk of shame in your Halloween costume the next day. Now picture there's a friggin' hurricane. It's like, you. 2013. So I forgot about this. I dressed up, and this is my calling, is TV commercials, because it seems like a lot of my ideas for costumes come from frickin' TV commercials, mostly watching sports. Like TV commercials during sports games that play over and over again. So this year, 2013, I was like, I'm going to keep it pretty simple, but I'm going to go as Mayhem from those Allstate commercials. You're in good hands with Allstate. I think it's Allstate. And you have the guy from 30 Rock. I forget his name, but his name is Mayhem in these commercials. And you see him in a suit. Or he usually is in a suit, and he just is causing mayhem. He's falling through a roof. He's chucking a thing through a window. He's causing destruction, because it's an insurance commercial. And I thought, oh, if you're a sports fan, this mayhem commercial plays repeatedly on loop throughout every game. Sports fans will get it, and of course no one got it. I wore my suit, wore a Band-Aid on the forehead, tried to make it look like I'd been roughed up a little bit, and people were just like, oh, whoa, are you okay? Because I wore it to work, which I guess that was my first mistake. I thought we were all going to wear costumes to work, but I guess I didn't get the memo. People were like, are you okay? Do you have an interview? But like, you look like shit. And I'm just like, all right, here we go again. No one gets me. So that was also the year I played in a flag football game at Hoboken High on the artificial turf and tore my meniscus Halloween night. And had my first date with my now wife, my eventual bride-to-be, the next day. So I almost canceled because I was like, I got this knee thing, and she almost canceled because she was hungover from, I guess, Halloween during the week. So savage. And I wanted to be, so if it weren't for Mayhem, my first choice was the $1 Million Man. I'm like, I got the beard. At the time I had a beard. I got the flowy-ish hair that Ted DiBiase had. I just need that sick suit. And it's like, I have the white shirt. I can get the bow tie. Now I just need this sequin-covered, diamond-covered suit. And I actually found the authentic suit online, reached out to the guy, and he was typical, like, comic book nerd. Oh, what are you going to use it for? And I was just like, all right, screw you. You are 0% fun. So I couldn't be $1 Million Man. I still would like to be $1 Million Man at some point. Also trying to get the $1 Million belt, like one that actually looks like the $1 Million belt, is out the ass expensive. And it's like the replica is like, I might as well not even go. Might not even do it. But my wife ended up throwing a Halloween party that weekend. So after our first date, and she dressed up as her go-to costume as a can of PBR. And, I mean, you know, beautiful. She nailed it. She looked gorgeous. And I didn't show up in a costume because I had the knee thing, and I was like, no one's going to get Mayhem. It bombed at work. It's going to bomb at this party. And so I ended up showing up because I wasn't initially invited. And then I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I had a party. And I was like, that's cool. And she's like, you can come. And I was like, yeah. So I just showed up in what I was wearing, and I had this god-awful flannel, neon blue and black flannel shirt that it screams hipster lumberjack. So when people ask me, what are you? I'd either say I'm an asshole, or I'd say I'm a hipster lumberjack, or which, you know, could be one and the same. No offense. 2014. So this is the quintessential Neal overthinking things. Neal trying to win the Halloween costume, trying to win the contest that doesn't exist, and trying to win the night. And me trying too hard and overthinking things. This is the epitome of that. My wife is like, I want to be Wedney Peppercorn, the lifeguard from The Sandlot. And I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. I can be Squints. But I looked at the Squints costume. I'm like, it's kind of boring. How do I spice this up? How do I make this better? And my wife at the time was immediately like, oh my God. She like rolled her eyes and was like, I cannot believe I'm dating this asshole. Like why can't he just be Squints? And of course I couldn't. And so I decided to mash up Squints from The Sandlot with Clint Eastwood and become Squints Eastwood, which 0 people got. And to make it worse, I dressed up as Squints as an adult. So not even Squints from The Sandlot, like as a kid, but if you are familiar with The Sandlot, if you're like a diehard fan, you already know Squints grows up to be a pharmacist. Which, yeah, Squints grows up to be a pharmacist. So I was not only was my wife, Wendy Peppercorn, as a teen, the lifeguard in The Sandlot, that Wendy Peppercorn, I went as adult Squints, who was a pharmacist, combined with Clint Eastwood, the cowboy. So I'd wear a cowboy hat, and then I had the pharmacist jacket, and I literally had to write Squints Eastwood on my jacket just to make it easier on people, because it's like, you know, you stand next to Wendy Peppercorn and people are like, well, where's Squints? It's like, well, Neal decided to get cute with it and ruin the whole damn thing. So apologies to my wife for the millionth time. I just need to just let it go and be something normal. 2015, we had the Mets World Series, so I was neck deep in that. I was also handed a project at work last minute. We're supposed to set up a booth at StreamCon at the Javits Center in New York. And, I was pooped because it was like I got Mets World Series to focus on. I gotta be in tune with that, but I also gotta throw together this booth with 0 budget. Like, what's your budget? $0. So I had to throw that together because someone else left the company. So I was working that. Also got the Mets World Series going on. And just didn't dress up. Straight up missed the boat on that one. I think we ended up going to out for dinner and just enjoying a lovely Mets loss. Another Mets blown lead. God damn that World Series. And then 2016. So I didn't dress up in 17, I don't believe, and I don't think I dressed up in 18 last year. This was the last year that I really dressed up, and I gotta say, this might be my best costume. One of the best. Playboy Bunny, I don't know that you can beat that as a guy. But this came together very last minute. There was the David S. Pumpkin sketch from Saturday Night Live with Tom Hanks as this character, David S. Pumpkins. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, that's it. That's the one. And I ordered, they just, the SNL guys went out and actually they didn't make the suit. They bought the suit from some online retailer, and I ended up trying to buy it, and it didn't have it in my size. And I was like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to force it. Square hole, circular peg, circle hole, square peg. I'm going to make it work. Of course, it comes and it's way too small, way too tight. I had to like cut the seam, just a little air out a little bit. I had like a belt extender so that it would actually stay up and fit. And I was like, one bad move from this just like bursting into shreds, like I was Bruce Banner turning into the Hulk. David Banner turning into the Hulk? That would be pretty cool. David Banner. So we ended up throwing a potluck dinner / party in a like the AV room at our complex. We rented it out. Everyone came, brought food, themed food, watched the Cubs Indians on the big screen, and just got annihilated in this room. The guy came down and was like, I'm sorry, we're going to have, your time is up. And we're like, one more hour. And you can't, like, you have a room of people chanting 1 more hour. And it's like, all right, I got it. They're all dressed up. And you're like, okay, I won't be able to ID these people in a lineup because they're in disguise. So let them have 1 more hour. We got 1 more hour. Probably did some Adderall, some stupid shit. Go back to our apartment, pregame some more, then go out to a bar. And by that time, I had tried to dye my eyebrows black. I had a wig, but I also dyed my hair black. And by that time, the wig was gone. My shirt was torn. My pants are ripped. The makeup's all over my face. And I'm still getting served at the bar, which is unbelievable. I mean, not to like call anyone out at this bar and have a bartender lose their job, but like it's, they looked at me and they're like, you're a big boy. Yeah, we know you're browned out, but like you're a big boy. You're not going to remember this. So here you go. And of course, we couldn't find our keys for like a week after that party. Couldn't find the keys. I went into that room and I turned it upside down, inside out, looking for these keys to the apartment. Luckily, I was unemployed at the time because I'm always unemployed. I'm not employable. And so I would just stayed in the apartment because couldn't go out of the apartment because we didn't have the keys. So I just looked in this room repeatedly for these keys. And then a week later, our friend reaches in her purse and boop, there they are. No one thought to look in their purse. So amazing. So amazing. So yeah, those are the top Halloween costumes, I guess in chronological order. I guess I should rank them for a blog post, but I'll probably be too lazy for that shit. And that's life. So let's talk about movies. But so here are top Halloween movies. I haven't seen any movies. I don't think I didn't see any movies in the week, between the shows. So here are some top Halloween movies that are favorites of mine that I like to rewatch every Halloween season. So there are movies, and this is where it gets a little tricky because it's like, what constitutes a Halloween movie? In my mind, it's one of two things. It's one where Halloween is the setting. It's the locale, it's the setting, the movie takes place, for the most part, the majority of the movie takes place on or around Halloween. So that's A. B is, it could be a horror movie, but that has just Halloween written all over it. Whether there be like costumes, inspired costumes, or what have you. And you'll see it gets a little dicey because it's hard to tell sometimes between this is just a horror movie, this is a horror movie that can be enjoyed in Halloween, and this is a Halloween horror movie. It's it's a fine line. But for me, Scream '96 came out in high school. I don't think I got to see it because I'm a late bloomer, so I think I had to wait until it came on the cable. Scream 2 also pretty decent. Nightmare Before Christmas, which, this is Tim Burton mashing it up Like, such a smart move mashing up holidays, because like you can hit up Halloween, you can get the Halloween surge, and you can also get the Christmas bump. So you get those two, and they're close together, so that your theatrical run is going to be pretty lengthy, and then you get that seasonal action every Halloween and Christmas. I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas. If you don't like that movie, I don't know what to tell you. Donnie Darko. This is something that I watched on loop after I graduated college and I moved back home. I'd make a big old plastic cup of a screwdriver, just orange juice and vodka. Disgusting. But I thought to myself, if I'm going to drink this much vodka, my dad, who was alive at the time, he would always say, like, oh, you're ruining your immune system. You're not having no immunity if you keep drinking alcohol. It lowers your immunity. And so I was like, oh yeah, motherfucker. Boom, orange juice, vitamin C. What up? I can't imagine the amount of sugar I consumed with those drinks. But Donnie Darko, that was my favorite. That was on loop every weekend. That and Spider-Man. Jesus. But Donnie Darko, that's when I fell in love with that Jenna chick. Can't remember her name, but I was in a super like emo goth type. I didn't dress up like a goth, but I was super emo at that time. So Donnie Darko really hit a chord. And then of course I was like attracted to the emo chick in Donnie Darko. And I was like, oh, be sad with me. You're sad. I'm sad. Why? I don't know. I'm just a depressed fuck. Addams Family. It's another one that I'm so pissed that they decided to do an animated version. It's like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. It's a classic. There's Addams Family Values, but I believe that's more of a Thanksgiving movie. Not saying you can't do it on Halloween. I'm just saying more of a Thanksgiving type thing. Hocus Pocus, obviously. We talked about that last week with our trip to Salem, Massachusetts. It's growing. It continues to grow. It's amazing. You could visualize the data on this, how it's kind of continuously grown and grown from 93. 93 comes out, I was like 12. And I was like, this is kid stuff. I don't care. And then, you get a little older and then you start hanging out with women in a conversational setting and you're like, oh, women like this. I guess I should pop it on and take a look. And you watch it and you're like, wow, this is cheesy / corny, but like there's some really quotable shit. And then the Blair Witch Project. I put this on here and I probably should not have put it on the list because it's like I haven't really rewatched it over and over again, but it is something that like I won't pass. If I see it like on cable or something, or someone brings it up, I'll be like, yeah, we should do that. But I don't think to put it on myself. Beetlejuice. I mean, I don't think it was set in Halloween, but everything about it has got those Halloween vibes, from Winona Ryder to the ghosts to Beetle to the demons to the thing. And I mean, you got all the different things, the elements of Halloween in it. It's a Halloween movie. Edward Scissorhands, Sleepy Hollow, some more Tim Burton jams. I mean, Tim Burton is like the living embodiment of Halloween, so it's like pretty much anything he does, it's going to be on the list. Sleepy Hollow, it's like I got a thing for Christina Ricci. I found out that she was like babysitting my cousins at one point, and I was like, hook a brother up, and it never happened. Probably best for her. And Edward Scissorhands can be also a Christmas movie. So again, like Burton's like, I got your Halloween covered, and I got your Christmas covered, everything in between. Another mashup holiday mashup that I love so much. Ghostbusters. I mean, yeah, I think that's got to be thrown in there for Halloween. The Craft, I thought, I just like that. The Craft and Practical Magic is like, that's what I like watching with my wife, because my wife has such the feels for it. So it's like, it's kind of contagious. And then The Final Girls, that was a movie that I just discovered like a year or two ago. And it kind of plays on the tropes of horror movies and horror characters and plays up those similar to Scream, kind of parodying, spoofing, but in a real way. So I highly suggest The Final Girls. I think that's a good one. I'd also say along those lines, this is a borderline one, but Cabin in the Woods, has a lot of fear elements, spanning a lot of different famous horror icons and characters and tropes. So I'd put Cabin in the Woods in the same kind of category as Final Girls and Scream. So that's another one. two that are tough that could be, watch it if you want during the Halloween season, but I wouldn't say necessarily Halloween movies, but I could see if someone said, yeah. So debatable. It Follows and then Don't Breathe were two that were like, yeah, it gave me a little chills up the spine, little tinglies. And then there are movies that I've seen once and I'm like, I don't really need to see it again. Maybe during the Halloween season. Hush on Netflix. Just type in Hush, press play. I don't even need to tell you what it's about. You're going to love it. All right, I'll give you a little insight. Okay, it's a lady, she's home alone. I think she's deaf and or blind. I think she's blind, probably, and she can hear. She might be blind, deaf, and mute. I mean, it's like she got dealt a bad hand. And there's some guy just trying to break in and murder her. And he's like murdering everything outside, and he's just trying to get in and basically playing games with her. It's a little cat and mouse game. And, man, not like a big budget blockbuster type movie, but, along the lines of like Creep. Like Creep was another one I debated putting on the list because it's like very low budget, but it's creepy as fuck. And there are some horror elements to it, but I don't know that I can really slap the Halloween movie tag on it. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. So this is kind of along the lines of Evil Dead. So that was another debatable inner conflict for me. I struggled with it. Like, should I put it on the list? Should I not? Those two can be enjoyed during Halloween. I don't know if they're Halloween movies. And then, like Zombieland, Shaun of the Dead, horror comedies that are mainly just focused on zombies. So it's, zombies are a big part of Halloween, but like, is it feel very Halloweenish? I don't know. So, but the movies that I've watched during the Halloween season, I would consider Halloween movies, but I would only watch once. I don't know that I'd really go back to the well on these. The Conjuring came out in 2013. Oculus in 2014. The Shining. The Shining, that's a close one. I don't know. But yeah, so that's my list of Halloween movies that I could watch over and over again. My baby does that when she drinks water. She goes, ah. I'm like, you belong in a goddamn commercial, baby. Let's talk TV. Some TV news. I'll go through this quickly. Game of Thrones, the first planned spinoff with Naomi Watts has been canceled, but apparently there was a second spinoff in the works, and that's still a go. House of the Dragons has been ordered in its place. So maybe they weren't going to go with two spinoffs. They were going to go with I don't know. Very confusing, but I think the bigger news is that David Benioff and DB Weiss have admitted that they had no clue what they were doing in the final season. And I think that had to do with the fact that they had been hired to do the Star Wars trilogy, the next Star Wars trilogy. And now you come to find out that they've been booted. They have exited the Star Wars trilogy. So now do we redo the final season? What happens now? Does that petition go into effect? The whole reason why they didn't know what they were doing with the last season because they were distracted and were somewhat focused on the Star Wars trilogy that is now not going to happen with them. That Game of Thrones final season, I was on their side and gave them the benefit of the doubt the whole time, and I was wrong big time. In an alternate world, in an alternate history, they're not hired for Star Wars trilogy until after the final season's done, and maybe we get the best final season in all of TV history. HBO Max, which is set to debut in May 2020, has snagged exclusive streaming rights to South Park and Rick and Morty, which those are two shows that I watch, and I don't have cable, so I guess I got to pony up for HBO Max now, which is the same price as HBO. I don't know how that works. Can I get money back on HBO now? HBO Max is going to be 1,000 times better than just HBO. So, and I just found out PlayStation Vue is shutting down in the end of January, and I already canceled. I was like, you know what? I'm going to rip off the Band-Aid. I'm not going to let this draw out. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid, which stinks because I immediately switched to YouTube TV, which is great. similar quality. It's got all the basic same offerings, but does not have baby first TV, which is essentially my teacher's aid. It is my co-parental unit when I have to watch the baby here at the house and Cass isn't here. I just flip on baby first TV on PlayStation Vue, and now it's not available on YouTube TV. If you download the app on the LG TV, it's like you got to pay for it. The mobile app, you have to pay for it. But it's free on YouTube, but not YouTube TV. I don't know, dude. So confusing. Or I could just learn how to be a dad. Or I could just be a father and help my child without any kind of visual aids. So that's TV news. Let's talk about Mr. Robot, episode 4 of the final season, titled Not Found. This came out on the 27th of October. I really like this episode. And at the time, yesterday when I recorded this, it was the lowest rated episode of the season. It still had an 8.7 out of 10, which is phenomenal. But I guess it was the lowest rated of the 4 in the final season. But this might be... I don't know. This might be my favorite. I really like this episode. You get to see Tyrell again with Elliot. I like that dynamic. When in the last episode, we finished with Tyrell breaking into Elliot's apartment and saying, we can take him down from the inside. And Elliot being like, yo, STFU, dude, they're listening. There's the van, their surveillance van, they're listening. So we open up this episode with them. We're now on the flip side, on the opposite end of the spectrum. We're in the surveillance van with the guy monitoring the situation, and the guy has no reaction. Like, you just heard Tyrell Wellick be like, we're taking down the Dark Army and E-Corp from the inside. And this guy's like... He's just like typing away on his computer. He's probably listening to like smooth jams. I don't know. Like, dude, they just... Which makes me think that they knew all along that Tyrell is going to be like that kind of guy, and so they prepared for it. But next thing you know, they open up the back doors of the van, Tyrell and Elliot, and they knock out the guy. And he's presumed dead. And it's like, hey, I don't know, just make sure he's dead, check his pulse, and if he's not, then maybe... I know Elliot probably doesn't have it in him to kill this person, but Tyrell has killed people. Like, he's into killing, so like, just... finish the job, dude. Of course he doesn't. They take the van, and I guess I forget where they're driving to, but they stop at this little Stop and Shop gas station convenience store type thing. Tyrell's filling up a gas can, not the van, which makes me think that he's going to try and set the van on fire to destroy the evidence, destroy the body and whatnot. They then have to go inside because they need directions or something like that. Because I guess they don't have... That would make sense. They don't have like reception on their phone, so they don't have the use of the maps, Google Maps, or E-Corp Maps, whatever is the Google substitute in this universe. And they go in and ask for directions, come back out, van's gone. And they're like, oh my God. So the guy who was inside probably did not die, and now he's off, and he's about to blow the horn, blow the whistle on Tyrell and Elliot. So then they ask the lady for walking directions, and she's like, oh, there's a shortcut. And I thought that scene could have been a little funnier, by the way, with the clerk and Mr. Robot, Tyrell, and Elliot. Like, it was funny, but it could have been a little bit funnier because it was like, I know they're agitated and they're on a time schedule, tight timetable, and she's kind of dilly-dallying but I thought the exchanges could have been a little bit better, and Mr. Robot and Elliot and Tyrell could have come off, a little bit, but understandably, it's like it's an urgent situation. You can't be dilly-dallying, so I get it. But I thought the humor was there. Just could have been tweaked a little bit. So they end up walking through the forest, and you hear this noise, and this animal noise. And, they're thinking, oh, it's a wolf. And he's like, I don't know. I don't think that's a wolf. And it made me think, because Tyrell is Swedish, it made me think of this Netflix movie, or this movie that's on Netflix called, I think it's Caliber. I could be wrong, but it's about a group of guys who suffered through a traumatic event. There was a shooting at a convenience store that they could have prevented, but they didn't. I think either one of them dies or a mother and a son dies. Someone dies. It's very tragic. And they kind of separate and drift apart from that traumatic event, and they decide to come back together. I think it's for a bachelor party or birthday or something like that, and they go out in the woods. Maybe it's called The Ritual. It's either called The Ritual or Caliber. I don't want to say it's The Ritual. Could be The Caliber. Look them both up. So they go in the woods, and I guess maybe for a hunting trip or something like that. And no spoilers, but there's a creature, and it's stalking them, and the creature makes these crazy noises. So I thought, oh shit, is Mr. Robot about to go like in this crazy new route? Which would be the most insane thing to do in this world. I mean, I know we're dealing with schizophrenics and multiple personalities and bipolar and depression and all these kind of crazy real things. Now they're going to go into the like fantastical, fantasy, mythical crazy and have this like insane creature pop out of the woods and like eat Tyrell. Like that's so Swedish because he's singing, he's humming along. He's singing a Swedish Christmas song or whatever. And Elliot's like STFU. So to have like this like insane creature come out and like stalk them, I thought like, okay, like most people would hate that. I know critics and fans would be like, oh, that's so out of left field. They're reaching, blah, blah. I would have been like, hell yeah, dude. Why not? But, they come across a deer who's dying, and I think it's the dying deer that's making that noise, or whatever noise it was making. So they come across the dying deer, whatever, and then they see the van. So that makes sense. So the guy was driving away, and I guess he must have hit the deer and he crashed. Okay, now I'm getting it. And it's all coming together now. It only took me a fucking week to piece it together, no problem. So they come up to the van. Elliot comes on the passenger side. Tyrell goes on the driver's side. And you hear gunshots. Elliot actually sees a gunshot. And the driver dies. Elliot comes around the corner, around the bend, and sees Tyrell. And he's like, are you okay? Tyrell opens his jacket. You see the gunshot wound. And then we got possibly one of the best shots I've ever seen in TV history, in my mind. I love the cinematography here because you have, it's kind of a medium wide shot, and you have Tyrell standing. He's a shadowy figure in the shot. It's like a silhouette of him looking towards us, towards the camera. And then you have the glow and the haze around him and the full moon up top. And it's like very Halloweenish. Even though it's set during the holiday season, the Christmas time season, it's got like a Halloween vibe to it with him, as this dark figure staring at us and with the moonlight casting down on him. Oh man, what a shot. I love that. And then he just kind of wanders off in the woods to die, I guess. He's like, I'm slowing you guys down. I'm going to die anyway. Go on without me. And Elliot's like, okay. And then you see towards the end of the episode, you see him stumbling through the woods, and then there's like this purple glow, which if there were any other color glow, I would not have been like, what are we dealing with here? But like, purple, blue, green, like any kind of colored glow, you're just like, something, is this like the spaceship? What is it? So he's drawn to it and kneels down, and he's kind of going in, and then it fades to white. So you assume he dies, but I hope he didn't die. I hope, he discovered something crazy, and it's now going to all come together in the final episodes. We have like the beauty of Mr. Robot this season is that there's like 9 more. There's 13 total episodes. We're through 4, so there's 9 more. And it ends, like the season finale is right around Christmas time, which the timing could not have worked out any better. So kudos to Sam Ismail for working that out and making it work. The next storyline I'll talk about is Dom, who is on this like internet relay chat thingy, which is very like 1999 type vibe to it, where it's like, I'm going to AOL Instant Messenger chat. ASL, bro. ASL question mark. And so she's been conversing with this person on Christmas Eve. Supposed to hang out with her mom and her family on Christmas Eve, and she's instead like trying to get her cyber sex on. And we see that the person she's talking to, she thought was a guy. Turns out it's a girl. And the girl's like, I'm into girls as well. I just like pretending I'm a guy. Okay. And so the Dom's like, or the girl is like, let's meet up in real life. And Dom's like, yeah. And then the girl asks for her address. And I'm sitting here going, no way. No way, dude. There's no way Dom is a fucking agent with the FBI and CIA. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't be that horny and work for an intelligence agency, but I could be completely wrong. I mean, there's a video of a guy doing a backflip with a loaded gun and having it going off and shooting someone. So it's like, I guess I need to recalibrate what I think a CIA or FBI agent is. Because, like, they're still human. And Dom's, hard up. She's horny as hell. And I'm like, there's just no way she gives her address, especially with what's going on in the Dark Army. And then you see, cut to, there's this random girl in her apartment, and they're kind of hitting it off, and there's some slow jams playing, and they kind of like are playing that, should we or shouldn't we tango. They end up kissing. Dom's like, hold up, goes in the bathroom. I hate my nose. I want to be like the dude from Harry Potter. The guy from Harry Potter without a nose. I would love that. That'd be sweet. What the hell is his name? So stupid. Dorpheus? I don't know. Professor Dork? I don't know. The guy with no nose. I want to be that. Sick of my nose. So she goes in the bathroom to, I guess, the bathtub is full and there's rose petals. And I was like, whoa, you're really going on, like, this is supposed to be like a hot and heavy, like, sex sesh. And you got, like, rose petals and shit. And so you see she's attacked from behind, and it's the girl wearing a mask, and she's drowning Dom. And you're like, this can't be how you go out, Dom. No way, dude. I mean, you survived, like, a shootout in a lobby, and you avoided taking an axe to the chest in a field, and it's like you've escaped death so many times, and this is how you go. And of course, you find out that it was all a dream. Used to be What Up magazine, salt and pepper, happy day up in the limousine, hanging pictures on my wall. So yeah, she didn't fall for it. She's still in her bed, and hasn't typed, and so she's kind of like, who knows what's going through her head at this point, because, she's just a horny lady, and she's got a lot of other stuff going on in her mind. So I guess that's why she's turning to that, just to turn her mind off, trying to distract herself from the Dark Army and that impending fate. The wall's closing in, one false move and she's gone, like she's on thin ice, and she's just trying to escape all that, and she can't even do it in her fantasy. She can't even escape it in her fantasy. She's getting murdered in her fantasy. But her, like, masturbating to Darlene is a nice little touch. Looking at the interrogation video and going to town on herself, it's like, I haven't had a sesh like that in a long time, where it's just like, put down the phone, put down the computer. I mean, I know she's looking at the computer, but, like, she's not looking at porn. She's looking at video or real photo video of just a person in their natural state, not like in the porn state. I haven't done that in a while. Gotta get back to the basics and rediscover your brain, basically. My favorite storyline in this episode, though, was Darlene and the drunk Santa Claus, played by John Glaser, who's named Tobias in the show. John Glaser is amazing. He's one of the top comedic talents in my mind. Just all around funny dude. He had an Adult Swim show where he played a witness in the witness protection program, and he had to wear like a black ski mask with a voice modulator. And I want to say it was like declassified or decoded or something on Adult Swim, and it was hilarious. And he's playing the drunk Santa. Well, first, Darlene. I'm kind of hot and cold with Darlene. There's some times where I'm just like, all right, I'm on board. This is cool. And the other times where I'm like, yo, you are so annoying. Just pipe down. Because she has that voice that's just a little grating. And I have a bad voice. I get it. But like, there's a little grating voice. And of course, this episode, I loved her in this episode. And you see her on the cell phone, just reaming out her brother Elliot, and just like calling him every name in the book, and like swearing him off and saying I hate you and blah blah blah, and leaving this very long mean message. And then cut to like, if you would like to re-record your message, press 3, and you hear boop, and she re-records the message to be more sedated and calm, and that is vitriolic. Is that a word? I don't know. Acerbic. That's another word I don't know. Acerbic, vitriolic, ambivalence is another one I thought I knew. I don't think I know it. I have to look it up every time. But so she's outside the Cyprus National Bank. She can't get a hold of Elliot, and she's like about to break into a car to go somewhere. I forget where. And as she's breaking into the car, she gets caught by this drunk Santa played by John Glaser, who plays a drunk person the way a drunk person should be played. I made a comment, when I was recapping Booksmart a few weeks back, that a lot of these times in these movies and TV shows, the characters in the movie get drunk, and then they don't act drunk. They act like everything's normal. They don't slur their words. They don't slow down their speech. They're not like slowly opening and closing their eyes. It's like, you guys aren't drunk. Or they'll act drunk for like a scene, and then the next scene, which is like 5 minutes later, they're perfectly normal. It's like, you got to be consistent, guys. It's called continuity. So John Glaser plays a great drunk person. He's drunk from start to finish of his role as Cameo. And, he confronts Darlene because he's like, hey, you're stealing my car. You're stealing my car. She tries to walk away. He confronts her, and he's like, actually, can you find my keys? So she's like, maybe. Where do you need to go? I'll just drive you to where you need to go and drop you off, and then I'll skedaddle. And he's like, all right, that sounds good. So in the car, they kind of have like a bonding conversation where he's opening up to her about his situation. Like, why is he a Santa? He's helping the sick kids at the children's hospital. And he's and everything he says, it just, the way he says it is dripping with importance and significance and emotional value and sentimental value. And you can tell it's like, it's Christmas time is also, unfortunately, that time of year when people start to get down on themselves more so than other times, because it's a happy season. And if you're not happy, then you're sad and you're thinking and reflecting and regretting. And so Darlene is kind of feeling that internally, and this guy is kind of feeling it as well. He's expressing how his wife had an accident, and then she sees the painkiller prescription bottle in his hand. He's taking that and taking a swig, and so she's assuming the worst. And so he's about to go inside, or they pull up to the house, and this is one of the better punchlines, and I wish more shows would do this. It's just a little icing on the cake that makes the episode that much better. They pull up, and he's like, oh, that's my car, and there's a car in the driveway, and he's like, that's my car, and she's like, whose car is this? And he's like, I don't know. Like, that's so perfect. They really nailed it. But he gets out to go inside, and she's like, wait, don't do it. Don't kill yourself. And he's like, I wasn't going to kill myself. And she's like, but your wife, she died in the accident. And she's like, she didn't die in the accident. And you see the wife come out and hug him. And then she kind of opens up to him and spills her guts about, her relationship with Elliot and whatnot. And he's like, okay, and just kind of goes back to do his thing. And she just goes back in the car like, oh, I can't believe that my life is so fucked that I was kind of projecting my depression and suicidal tendencies or thoughts onto this guy who was just, really drunk and being emotional and not suicidal. And of course, the guy comes back out. And the drunk Santa comes back out, and he's like, it's going to be okay, Dolly. And she's like, Darlene. It's like, he nailed it. I mean, it sucks. He should win an award for that goddamn cameo. It was so good. So good. And I love what they're doing with the humor in this season. You didn't really see a lot of the humor in previous seasons. And now they're just kind of sprinkling the humor here and there. I think last week or the week before, Elliot and Darlene are sitting on the bench in the subway, and they're having it out, and talking about their dead mom, and then all of a sudden you hear "I'm sorry," and they pan back, cut to the wide shot, and it's like it's a person in a Frosty the Snowman costume gets up and walks away. And it's like the little things like that make the episode and the series that much better. So I think they're really nailing it with this season, and I liked the kind of detour they took in this episode. What's next? I don't know, dude. What is next for Mr. Robot? Tyrell is not dead. I refuse to believe that. I think Darlene somehow, in her own way, worked out her own feelings with Elliot, with this drunk Santa, saying, everyone gets down, everyone has their bad moments, everyone has accidents, but like, pull yourself together. So I think that kind of inspired her a little bit, and she's going to have a better relationship with Elliot. Maybe Elliot, through this winter wonderland expedition with Tyrell, has kind of discovered that he's doing this for Darlene. So as much as they butt heads and have conflict and confrontations, ultimately they're going to come together over the course of the last 9 episodes. We got 9 more of these bad boys. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Watchmen, episode 2, season 1. This one's called Martial Feats of Comanche Horsemanship, which I butchered in the intro. My apologies. And we open with, last episode, premiere episode, we opened on the Tulsa riots in 1921, which I had no idea about. I knew about the Summer of Red riots in 1919 in Alabama. I want to say Mississippi. Did not know about the Tulsa riots in 21. This one, we open a flashback to the World War II era, I believe, where a German Nazi-ish soldier comes in and gets a woman and says, "Do you speak English?" She says, "Yes, what's your name?" And she says her name is something Mueller, which will come into play later in the episode. He's like, "Come with me." She types up all this German propaganda, which they then dump from planes over black United States American soldiers, basically saying, "Hey, you're fighting for a country that doesn't respect you, doesn't treat you like an equal. If you come to our side, us Nazis, we'll treat you like equals." Oink. And that America doesn't truly love them or believe in their rights and whatnot. And so you see, I believe the guy, the black soldier in this flashback, has to be Will Reeves, because you see the little kid in the Tulsa riots, 21, was like 5-ish maybe, and then now we're World War II era, which is 39 to 44, 45. So he would be in his early mid-20s. So I have to believe it's the kid from the Tulsa riots in the movie theater who was able to escape, and now he's a soldier, and now he's reading this German propaganda, and it's starting to click with him, like, yeah, they're kind of right. I mean, I'm not becoming a Nazi because of it, but they are right. America doesn't really fully respect us. So I think that plays a part in his psyche and his way of thinking. His logic moving forward, that really makes an impact on him, and you can kind of see that throughout this episode. Because we continue at the scene of the crime where Don Johnson's hung. Don't take that out of context. Don Johnson's hung, and so Angela Abar, Sister Knight, she scoops up Will Reeves, the dude in the wheelchair, and is like, "You come with me, motherfucker." And so she holds him captive and is like interrogating him, and he's being kind of coy and giving her all these, he's saying he's like Dr. Manhattan, all this nonsense, and she's like, "No, you're not." And then we have a flashback to White Night. So Angela mentioned this White Night and Career Day, the last episode, but it's when Christmas Eve or Christmas night, when the 7th Cavalry invades the homes of police officers who at the time were not masked. So I think this spurned the police forces to pass a law saying they can mask themselves and mask their identity. So you see Angela and her husband, and then all of a sudden 7th Cavalry busts in, and she tries to hide but ends up getting shot. She ends up killing one of the 7th Cavalrymen, I believe, and then another one out of nowhere hits her and is like, has the barrel right in her face, and that's when her eyes close, and next thing you know, she's in a hospital bed, wakes up to the sight of Judd, Don Johnson, and he's like, "We're the only 2 to survive." It's like, that's interesting. We're the only 2 to survive? And that's the beauty of Don Johnson's character, is that we don't know, and the beauty of the Watchmen series as a whole, we can't distinguish good versus evil. Like, it seems like everyone's got a little evil in them and everyone's got a little good in them. And that's why I hold Watchmen above any other comic book series, like, you know, the Avengers and X-Men and all that stuff, because it just seems to play with that idea of, you know, the traditional concept of the good guy and he's wearing white, and the bad guy and he's wearing black. And it's like, nope, nothing is as black and white as you think it is. And they're exploring race relations, the relations between black people and white people. So, God, I love this series. So good. But you don't know what, and that's the whole point of this series, is like we're trying to dig deeper and peel back the layers of Judd's onion. You know, we're trying to figure out, was this guy good? Was this guy bad? You know, we saw the picture. Was it of him and another redneck looking dude that could have been a member of the 7th Cavalry in his bedroom? What was that picture all about in episode 1? And then, of course, in episode 2, Angela Abar goes to the wake at Judd's house. She pretends to faint and then puts on her X-ray goggles and digs around and does some sleuthing, some snooping, and she finds a 7th Cavalry kind of KKK garb hood prominently displayed in Judd's closet, and she doesn't buy it. She's like, it's supposed to be a shock to us, but at the same time, we're like, they've done a great job of kind of teasing us and making us not fully buy in on Don Johnson. Like, Don Johnson, okay, like he, at the dinner with him and Angela and surrounded by family and friends, like, he's talking about how he's not keen about Black Oklahoma. And he makes a comment. Angela's like, whoa. And then in this episode, I remember this happening in episode 1, but episode 2, when they're outside and they're talking, you can see, or when even at the dinner table, he like does a little sniff. And so that means that he's doing coke. Does that make him a bad guy? It doesn't make him a saint. So, the little things here and there that make you think this guy's not completely on the level. Maybe he's not 100% on the good side, and that's the beauty of the series. So, you know, and Angela's got her own situation she's trying to work out, where it's like she told you she was adopted. So she was born in Vietnam, but she was adopted. I believe she said that in episode 1 at Career Day. And then she came over to the States, to Tulsa. And so she goes to the Greenwood Center for Cultural Heritage, which is a museum, a little technologically advanced, about Tulsa's black population. And she's able to take a mug that has Will Reeves' DNA on it. She swabs it, puts it in. And then as she's about to beat the crap out of Will Reeves back in the bakery where she's holding him captive and detaining him, she gets the phone call that she is Will's biological granddaughter. And then it's just like, what? And it was supposed to be, and that's the beauty of the series. I know I've said that multiple times, but this is another beautiful thing about the series, is like, it's not an out of left field shock surprise. Like, we kind of suspected it. It's just like, that's what it does. It plants little seeds here and there to make you suspect things, and then they confirm it. So that's what I love about it. And of course, just when she's like, that's it, and she grabs him and is about to take him in and officially arrest him, she puts him in the car in cuffs or whatever, and then all of a sudden a ship comes out of nowhere, drops one of those big magnets you see in like a junkyard where they junk cars, and it just picks up the car with Will in it and takes him off, and she's just like, what the fuck? What a way to end the episode. Whew. Some other highlights. Looking Glass has a very Rorschach vibe, and I didn't pick it up at first. I kind of was like, it feels familiar. And then this episode is like, yep, he might be related to Rorschach. He's got that same kind of gravelly voice, same kind of stature, facial features. He's got the same kind of mannerisms with the mask, pulling that down, keeping it up so he can eat beans. Like Rorschach was eating beans, and I forget what Looking Glass was eating in this episode, but it felt very much like Rorschach, at least from what I saw in the Watchmen movie. So there might be a connection there, which maybe there's a connection between him and the 7th Cavalry. I don't know. Red Scare, we get to see, was it Red Scare? Yeah, Red Scare, the Russian dude. Red Scare. I remember, the first episode we didn't get to see much of him. He didn't really talk that much, but like we saw him eating something and there were crumbs all over his mask, and it was like, that's pretty funny. And in this episode, we got to see more of him, and he's still, not intentionally laugh out loud trying to be funny, but like he's still a humorous character in my mind. Like just the accent and whatnot. But the 80s in me, because I'm an 80s kid, it's tough for me to kind of come on board with someone that Russian, because you lived through the Cold War, and you're like brainwashed to think that all Russians are bad and evil. So it was tough for me to kind of like warm up to that at first. But now it's like, all right, well, in this universe, the Russians and Americans bonded, and the Cold War dissipated over this alien threat that could be a government hoax. Oh, man, there's just so much to love about this fucking series, dude. I love it. The story within a story, American Hero Story about the Minutemen. This one, we finally get to see a scene from the show. Before we saw like promos, trailers, and banners and whatnot. Now we see a scene from the show, and it focuses on Hooded Justice and his origins. And you find out that he opens his episode by saying, people thought I died. People thought I was the Russian circus strongman Rolf Mueller. Same last name as the lady who was at the typewriter who typed up the German propaganda. I don't know what the connection is there, but like there's got to be something there. And it turns out he's like, no, but not Rolf Mueller. And then you see him kick ass during a robbery attempt. So how is that going to come into play? And then finally, Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, played by Jeremy Irons. I mean, he's just continuing to kill it. He's got to be nominated for an award for this role. I mean, he's just crushing it at this point. He puts on. So there was a big question last episode. Was like, what's going on with these servants? Like, are they robots? What are they? And come to find out through this play that Ozymandias has put together. It's a one-act play reenacting Dr. Manhattan's origin story, where he's trapped in the chamber and he's effectively killed, but then comes back as Dr. Manhattan, the professor. And just when you think you've got your finger on the pulse of what's going on, you still feel like something's off. They reenact what happened to the doctor, and you see the guy in the booth in the chamber catch fire, and you're like, oh, but he didn't really catch fire. This is like just really cool special effects. They were able to make it look real. And then you see Dr. Manhattan kind of descend, the guy playing Dr. Manhattan descend with the Dr. Manhattan mask, and then end scene. Ozymandias, oh man, butchering that. Claps and is like, bravo, job well done. Now let's clean up the body. And you're like, oh shit. So Mr. Phillips, the servant, did die. And then you see the other servants who were like hooded or masked. They pull off their hood or mask, and they're all like the same face as the other servants. And you see Dr. Manhattan, the guy playing Dr. Manhattan, pull off his mask, and he's Mr. Phillips. So there's a bunch of Mr. Phillips and a bunch of Mrs. Crookshanks, or whatever the hell her name is. And you're like, clones. I forgot. Clones are dumb. Oh, whew. So, Ozymandias coming in hot with a play. He just loves cloning people and then killing them. And this is and this goes back to my original statement about this series and about, you don't know who's good versus evil. And it's like, okay, you think Ozymandias is evil, but at the same time, like, he came up with this giant squid thing, transdimensional squid, to end the threat of World War III, to end nuclear war, which it effectively did, which is good. Problem is, he killed millions in the process. But it's like 1 to 3 million killed versus, I mean, basically half the planet killed. Almost the entire planet killed. So it's like, that's noble and good, but it's also evil. So that's, whew, baby. I didn't look at the preview for the next episode, but it looks, I mean, I did see the preview for the next episode, and it looks tight. It looks very nice. So, A lot of questions to be answered, and I'm on board 100%. You need to be on board too. God damn. All right, so let's talk Mets. We'll do a little, I don't know. Do you want to talk about the Mets managerial search again? We're now in the third round of interviews with a handful of candidates. It feels like the Democratic, presidential candidacy at this point. There's like 20 people who've entered the ring, and like we're still, still a dozen in the mix. And it's like you see Joe Maddon hired by the Angels. You see Joe Girardi going to the Phillies, which is a complete punch in the gut. Like, couldn't he just go anywhere outside the NL East? He had to go to the Phillies. And now I got to see the Phillies go back to the World Series and the playoffs and win. It's just like, oh, and that could have been us, and it's not. Instead, we're like mired in like 1,000 rounds of interviews with 1,000 people. The mystery candidate was revealed. Ooh, the mystery candidate. And it turns out it's like Pat Murphy. Brewers bench coach, Pat Murphy. And it's like, okay, wow. That was a mystery candidate, huh? My mind is all over the floor. It's been blown to bits. I can't believe it. And then you have, I'm so sick of Mets beat reporters, most of them, because they're just like, they're awful. The mystery candidate is Pat Murphy, but he's not the bombshell candidate. And it's like, oh, okay, there's a mystery candidate and there's a bombshell candidate. And apparently there's another mystery candidate. So there's all these mystery candidates but one bombshell candidate, but Pat Murphy's not the bombshell. And it's just like, come on, get it over with. What is the deal? But Eduardo Perez is the clear frontrunner, according to people, which means he's probably not the clear frontrunner. He's probably dead last in the race because we've just been fed nothing but horse shit this entire time. But they said if Perez is hired, then Beltran would be the bench coach. And then there was some rumor that Showalter might be better as a bench coach. And it's like, why would you do that to Perez? Why are you going to hire a more high-profile person to be his bench coach? And like things go downhill, slide, and they're just gonna cut to Beltran or Showalter on the bench, like judging him. It's a recipe for disaster. I disagree with it wholeheartedly. And the whole theory behind that is, well, if Perez really fails, then Beltran or Showalter can step up and become a manager. Well, then why don't you hire them as a manager in the first place? I mean, what a shit show. AJ Hinch says he's not in the mix. I wouldn't mind AJ Hinch, even though people are saying he blew Game 7 of the World Series. Whatever. Mickey Callaway was hired as the pitching coach for the Angels under Joe Maddon. God bless him. Just hire someone at this point. I don't care anymore. It's just like someone, Dave Magadan was saying that he endorses Tim Bogart because they were together on the Mets at the same time. Magadan, played first and third for the Mets in the late 80s, early 90s, I think, and he was great at the plate, left-hander. But I don't know that, like, is he the authority on who to hire for managers? It's like, yeah, so Tim Bogart, and you can, great. So you got to vote for Tim Bogart. Tell you, man, I don't know. And you know what's going to end up happening? And it relates to this week in Mets history, which I'll get to. It'll be the final one that I mentioned. But let's get to this week in Mets history. October 24th, 2000. Orlando El Duque Hernandez, who was previously undefeated 8-0 with a 1.90 ERA in the postseason, loses his first postseason game as the Mets beat the Yankees in the World Series on a 8th inning double by Benny Agbayani. It was the only win the Mets had in that series, which sucks. John Franco got the win, and that also ended the Yankees' record 14-game World Series winning streak, which I don't think that's been broken since then. October 25th, 86. So this was the day. Game 6, World Series. This was, and there's a quote from Vin Scully that I think really nailed it. He said, quote, "If one picture is worth 1,000 words, you have seen about 1,000,000 words. But more than that, you have seen an absolutely bizarre finish to Game 6 of the 1986 World Series." So So one strike from defeat, the Mets tie the game in a wild pitch. And then Mookie Wilson hits a dribbler down the first baseline, and it goes through Billy Buckner's legs. Ray Knight scores the game-winning run, and we take it to Game 7. Buckner becomes the scapegoat who believes he shouldn't have been in the game, which that's on, I guess, what's his name, John McNamara. Should have taken him out for defensive purposes, but didn't. And, of course, it cost him that game. And Red Sox say it cost him the series, but, like, he still had another game. We didn't win the series on that game. We tied the series on that game. Still had Game 7 to win the series. So I don't think you shouldn't. I mean, yeah, sucks that Buckner did that, but I don't completely put all the blame on him, especially when you had the lead in Game 7. So what a life. Can you imagine if that didn't happen? What, you want to talk about alternate histories like Watchmen? If Bill Buckner fields that ball and tosses to, what was it, Schiraldi or whoever was supposed to cover first, the pitcher? I mean, the Mets, I don't know where the Mets are as an organization if that doesn't happen. Maybe it gives them a kick in the ass, like, hey, we need to improve, and maybe we don't. Maybe we're not the team that just finishes in second in the NL East, and we actually win the NL East multiple times, and we actually go to the NLCS multiple times, we actually go to the World Series multiple times, because we didn't win that series. What could have been? You know, at the time we look at it as like, yes, that's, you know, we won the World Series because of that. But maybe if we lose that World Series, we go to more and win more. I don't know. It's one of those insane what ifs that I love exploring because I hate dealing with reality. October 25th, 2000, Mike Piazza becomes the first player to hit a World Series home run at both Yankee Stadium and Shea Stadium. Adding to Mike's lore, what a season that was, 2000 for Mike. Sucks we did not get him a ring. October 26th, 1998. Mike, this is when Piazza signed the most lucrative contract in Major League history. 7 years, $91 million, and this is the kicker that I always love. It included having a suite on road trips and a luxury box for home games. Like he wasn't going to sign that deal. 7 years, 91 mil, I guess, but what about that road suite? What about that luxury box? And they're like, oh, I don't know if we can. Yeah, I guess if that's the deal breaker, sure. And then it was all downhill from 2000, which sucks. Kind of peaked in 2000. It shouldn't have been that way. But October 27th, 86, this is the Mets completed a dramatic comeback and win 8-5 over the Red Sox to become world champions. Ray Knight hit a home run, which put the Mets ahead for good in the 7th, but he was named World Series MVP, which you can't argue with that. Game-winning run, Game 6, game-winning hit, Game 7. Yeah, fuck yeah. And I guess he retired after that season. I might be wrong. Maybe he might have gone to the Reds or something, but Ray Knight. That also was the night that the Mets... There's Monday Night Football footage of the Giants versus the Redskins at Giants Stadium, and they put it up on the board that the Mets are World Series champions, and the whole stadium lights up. And why is that? Well, because there are lots more Giants and Mets fans than you think, and also because Yankees fans in attendance who like the Giants love seeing the Red Sox lose. Which ties directly into what I was saying last week, in that if you have Yankees versus Phillies, Yankees versus Braves, Yankees versus Marlins, Yankees versus Nationals, and that message comes on the board, the Jumbotron of the Giants game, the Yankees win the World Series, the Mets fans are going to be cheering. They should be cheering. Because we should not cheer for a division rival. It's that simple. But, you know, I saw KFC send out a tweet like, yeah, you're not a Mets fan if you're at the Giants game. What are you doing at the Giants game during Game 7 of the World Series? And it's like, well, World Series tickets aren't cheap, guy. And, yeah, you want to do everything in your power to to go to that game, but you also can't just like, I don't know, go bankrupt. And this is why maybe I'm not as big a fan as people think I should be, or they'll call me out and say I'm fraudulent or whatever. But like, the ticket to a Giants game on Monday Night Football, regular season, October, like, I don't know, $30-$40 maybe, $20, I don't know. World Series ticket? I mean, my wife got us World Series tickets to Game 3 in 2015 at Citi Field. It was standing room only, and it had to be close to $1,000. It's a lot of, and to not have a seat, and we were like, you know, standing room, you're in the mezzanine, so there's the overhang. You can't see, if there's a fly ball, fuck it, you can't see where that goes. You can just see, like, any fly ball, you don't know where it goes. So all the home runs, it's like you hear the pop of the bat, you see it go up, and you lose it, and you have to depend on listening to the crowd to be like, oh, yeah, and you're like, okay, home run. But we were like hovering over a trash can and peeking between two steel beams. $1,000. I mean, you know, I don't even know if they had standing room back then, 86, but that's why you're at a Giants game and not a Mets game. I'm getting tired of like KFC calling out Mets fans for not being Mets fans. Why are you turning on your own fucking community, guy? Like, what are you doing? I don't understand. You know, and then saying that he likes Yankees fans better than, just be a Yankees fan, guy. That seems to be like what your MO is. I don't know. Probably got that real wrong. But October 27th, 2015, Conforto becomes the third player to accomplish the World Series Triple Crown, playing in the Little League World Series, College World Series, and, of course, the 2015 World Series. Two other people have done it, Jason Varitek and Ed Vosberg. I don't know. Ed Vosberg. This is an esteemed company. October 28th, 2002. And this is what I was talking about in reference to the managerial search. After being unable to get permission to talk to Lou Piniella from Seattle and deciding not to wait 10 days after the World Series for the availability of Giants skipper Dusty Baker, the Mets give Art Howe a 4-year, $9.4 million deal to manage the team. You want to talk about bad hires. And at the time, you know, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Howe led the A's to a pair of AL West championships, 2000, 2002. And I believe if the A's beat the Yankees, I think they played each other in the ALCS. I could be wrong. Probably wrong. But if the Mets play the A's in 2000, the Mets win. I think we win that one. But his teams won 383 games over 4 seasons, which matched Joe Torre's Yankees total. I mean, how do you argue with that? And he came in, he didn't do shit. And we sucked in 2003, and we sucked in 2004. And it was quite the unceremonious end to Mike Piazza's career with the Mets. It was right before Wright came up. It was Reyes had played a bunch, but he had like a hamstring issue. And I was like, oh, here's another prospect that's a bust. Very wrong on that. But can you imagine if we had Dusty Baker or Piniella? One of the two. They definitely would have done better than Art Howe. In my mind. I don't know. We also got Alomar, who didn't do shit. And I think maybe we brought back Burnitz. So that 2003... Oh, I want to block out 2003 and 2004 from my mind forever. Those were 2 horrific years for Giants and Mets fans. So that's Mets talk. Let's talk Giants. The Week 8 loss to the Lions. I mean, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't already been said. Going into the game, we needed Daniel Jones to protect the ball, and of course, he loses a ball, which not necessarily his fault. Barkley didn't have the wherewithal, and of course, ex-Giant Devin Gennard has to be the guy that returned it for a touchdown. Sweet. But Soldier got manhandled on that play and allowed, I think, Trey Flowers to come in and make the hit on Jones that forced the ball to go backwards. And that's supposedly was coverage that's supposed to be called by John Jalapeno. So Jalapeno was supposed to be this emerging rising star, and I don't know that he's really living up to that billing. because he's not communicating with the rest of the line. And Soldier got burned because of it. And the Jones got burned, and then the Giants got burned. So, we just keep digging ourselves into holes. If we just open the game like we close the game, then I think we'll be fine. There's like a quarter or a quarter and a half where we're playing the way we need to play and we should play to win games. Now just expand that to 4 quarters. Came out sluggish against the Cardinals, got in a hole, clawed back, but couldn't overcome. Same with the Lions. It was like a repeat of the previous game. Of course, Jones had a career game, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Had 2 amazing throws to Darius Slayton. In tight windows, tight coverage. Darius Slay wasn't playing. He was out. Kerryon Johnson wasn't playing. So I think we were going to win. I thought there was a good chance we could win because of the injuries, because of how debilitated the Lions were on defense and on offense. And I thought, okay, the running game has been taken away. Let's just focus on covering the guys that are going to burn us the worst. Galladay, and Marvin Jones. Of course, I didn't even think about Danny Amendola going off for, 8 or whatever catches and 90+ yards. I mean, and the defenders keep saying it's not the coach's fault, that it's on us, that the players are not executing the schemes that are put into place. And yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't understand how you have broken coverage in week 8. Half the season has gone by. You guys still don't have any chemistry. You're not gelling. And I know you've had injuries that have disrupted a lot of that rhythm, but man. Offensively, I think the play calling still leaves a lot to be desired, and to me, ultimately, it came down to Aldrick Rosas missing that fucking extra point. If he hits the extra point, it's 14-14. And you don't even give Shermer the option to go for the 2-point conversion in the midway through the third. You just take that away from him. He shouldn't have gone for the 2-point conversion in the third. He should have kicked the extra point, because then every time you get in field goal range, you kick the field goal, which would have been 1 to 2 more times, and you're only down by a touchdown and 2-point conversion. Push the 2-point conversion to as late as possible. You have to be forced to take the 2-point conversion. It should be your policy, and instead he goes for it like halfway through the third with a lot of time on the clock. And who's to say, if Barkley runs an amazing route, I think it's called a Texas route or something, where he fakes outside, comes up in the seam, Jones hits him in stride, and he loses his balance. He can't keep his feet. If he does, that's 6. And then we have 8 minutes left in the third. Does Shermer still go for the 2 points? Instead, we had to keep driving. 3 or 4 more minutes come off the clock. We hit Ingram for the touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. And then he goes for 2. And then Jones doesn't hit Slayton, who's wide open. So it could have been 24-21 if Rosas hits the extra point. Instead, now it's 24-19. And even if it's 24-20, they score a touchdown. They go up 31-20. You still kick a field goal, 31-23, and you still score a touchdown and go for 2. I mean, so it's just the little things that keep preventing us from coming out with a W. I mean, there's still some bright side. I mean, I don't think they used Ingram to the best of his abilities. 7 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touch. It's good for an average tight end. He's not an average tight end. Barkley, you only gave him 19 carries. I'd like to, and I know that we're in a hole, but don't abandon the run so quickly, dude. You don't have to abandon the run that quickly. It goes back to what I said before. Don't hand it to him on predictable run downs. Figure out a way to get the ball in his hands, and they did that in the passing game. I mean, I think 8 catches for 90 some odd yards or something like that. So, and a touch. So they're doing it in the passing game, but I think Barkley has to have 20+ carries for you to win. Has to. So if you're getting him 20 to 30, they got him 27 touches. I'd say if you get it closer to 30, 30 plus touches and, you got yourself a win. I don't know. I can't believe they don't run that route more often. All these swings and screens, they're all right, but like get him down the field. Doesn't have to be that far down the field. 5 yards, make a move. He'll juke the piss out of whoever's defending him. No one can cover him. And they should do what they did with Dave Meggett and to a certain extent Tiki Barber. Up the middle, 5 yards, and then he fakes one way, goes the other. And then he's wide open and he gets another 5 yards after catch. It's that simple. They did it with Shane Vereen a little bit, in the two minute offense, but I just don't know why they don't do it more with Saquon. Split him out more, get him in the slot, move him around. He's a weapon, and they're just not utilizing him the correct way. So the offense still has to make a lot of. There's a lot of room for improvement on offense. I mean, they're still allowing way too many sacks. There was a rumor that they were going to trade Nate Solder going into the trade deadline, and a colossal mistake if they do that, because there's no left tackle on the roster to fill in. And then what are you going to trade for another like cheaper left tackle that's just happens to be available? Like everyone needs a left tackle, so. Especially with a rookie quarterback, you don't want to like prematurely end his season and possibly his career because you don't have anyone protecting his blind side. So there's no way anyone's going to pay for Solder. Even the Browns are not that dumb. So, yeah, the sacks are a problem. I guess DJ is getting a little bit better protecting the ball. I'd still like to see him not fumble at all during a game. That would be nice. But he is converting 46.1% of third down attempts, which would put him 7th in the NFL. Dallas is number 1 with almost a 52% conversion rate, which is just not a real number. I don't know how that's possible. So I don't have a lot of hope heading into the Week 9 game against the Cowboys. We opened as 7.5-point dogs. I think it was down to 7 yesterday. I don't know what it is today, but that spread, we haven't seen a spread like that in 2 decades. Sweet. Going back to the glory days of the early to mid 90s. Blech. And then we trade for fucking Leonard Williams, Jets defensive lineman, 1st round pick. And I mean, people were stunned. I was surprised. I was a little shocked, and it took me a while for it to sink in. And then I got angry. I was like, what is going on? And I'm not as angry as I was when it first happened. When it first happened, I was like, why the fuck are we adding a defensive lineman? Defensive line is our best group, or is our best unit so far. Our top 3 highest graded defenders: Dexter Lawrence, defensive line; BJ Hill, defensive line; Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive line. So, and that's why I don't know if I should put any more stock or emotional equity in these grades and these ratings from Pro Football Focus or whomever, because they're not taking into account a lot of, BJ Hill last year, and this one is more telling than the stupid rating, this number that they assigned to someone. BJ Hill last year had 5.5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss. This year, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, 0 tackles for loss. Okay. That's the difference, I guess. Leonard Williams has twice as many pressures as any other interior defensive lineman on the Giants. Okay. So I guess it's starting to make a little more sense. The problem is you gave up a 3rd rounder next year, 2020, and a 5th rounder in 2021, which essentially becomes a 4th rounder if he signs a contract extension. This feels like a lot to give up for a guy that you probably most likely will only have for 8 games, and you're not in buy mode. We're in sell mode, dude. We're 2-6. You really think we're going to go 10-6? We're going to go 9-7, 10-6 down the stretch when we got to still play the Packers, the Eagles twice. I mean, the Bears, say what you will about the Bears, they still have a killer defense. Cowboys, even the Jets could possibly upset us because they're unpredictable as fuck. Beat the Cowboys, like what's that all about? So you really think this one defensive lineman, I mean, we're horrible in the secondary. We're not great at the linebacker position, at least inside linebacker position. And we get a defensive lineman. And that's going to be the difference. He's going to provide. You talk about wins above replacement in baseball. Like, is his WAR in the NFL is going to be a touchdown or two, and he's the difference because he can get more pressures on the quarterback, not necessarily sacks, just pressures. And he's great against the run. He stops the run. Okay. And the reasoning that they're saying now is, well, it gives us a very long lead time, advanced time to talk him into signing with us and to give us a sweetheart deal because he's now familiar with the clubhouse, the culture, the coaching staff, and he's maybe not getting as much as he would in the open market, but he feels more at home here. And I don't know. It just seems like such a huge risk. Since 2016, 38.7% of Leonard Williams' run tackles have gone for a loss or no gain. Second only to Aaron Donald. Okay. All right. So he stops the run. We minimize the damage on the run. We put teams into longer second and third down situations, and he's able to get pressure on the quarterback and force them into incompletions and interceptions. Is that the difference between a win and a loss? Because we have so many close games this year where it's really just one or two drives, one or two plays that have prevented us from winning. I don't know, dude. My worst nightmare is he plays 8 games, we still don't win, and then he signs somewhere else. But then again, it's like, all right, so we lost 2 picks, a third and a fifth. I don't know. Who's to say that those picks even turn out? Part of me thought that does this mean we're going to go to a 4-3? But I don't think that's going to happen. But Betcher's known for switching it up, going from 3-4 to 4-3. So maybe that is a look he'll put out there. But I think this is more about depth, because say BJ or Dalvin or Dexter, they get tired. Who they bring in? Olsen Pierre. So meanwhile, you're keeping 4 top guys fresh by cycling and rotating. I don't hate it as much, but I still don't like it because we're in fucking sell mode. We're in sell mode. We're 2-6. It would take a goddamn miracle for us to make the postseason and win this division. Especially seeing, thanks, Buffalo. You had one job, Buffalo. Beat the Eagles on your own home turf. And it's like, whoever said it, maybe it was Feats, maybe it was Big Cat. Someone at Barstool was like, yeah, I think the Bills just kind of mailed it in. They're just like, we're 5-1, we're 6-1. It's not a conference opponent. It's not a division opponent. We'll just mail it in. It's okay if we lose. Meanwhile, the Eagles are like, this is a must win. And of course they showed it and ended up demolishing the Bills. God damn you, Bills. God damn you. I really didn't think the Philly was going to go in and win that, and they have. And that's probably the confidence boost that they need to go on a fucking run. They play the Bears this week, and they'll probably embarrass the Bears. And then we're in a tight spot. So, I don't know. Maybe we catch Dallas. You know what the Dallas game is going to be? Same thing it's been every time at Giants Stadium the past few years. We're going to go punch for punch. It'll be close. We'll keep it in check. We'll keep it within striking distance. Maybe we'll even go ahead with 2 minutes left in the game, and fucking Prescott will drive them down for a game-winning field goal or game-winning touchdown. I mean, the whole one knee rule, that's my goal in life. I have a bucket list, and that's to repeal the one knee rule is top of the list. What a bullshit rule. But that's going to happen. We'll keep it close, and then Prescott will pull something out of his ass, and then we'll lose again. And then what? We're 2-7, and we got to go 9-7 to make the playoffs. And we got swept by the Cowboys, and we have a 1% chance of going. It's like, what are we doing? We obviously, I don't know. I understand, Dexter Lawrence, 22, BJ Hill, 25, 24, 25, Dalvin Tomlinson, 24, 25. So, I mean, if the goal here is that you're going to lose Tomlinson to free agency, maybe you're going to cut Tomlinson or you get rid of him, and then you have Leonard Williams there to sign because he's already here. I don't know. I don't know. I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. I've been against the trade. I was vehemently against it when it first happened. It sent me into a tizzy. And then the more statistics I see kind of pouring out, I saw a film analysis by David Deal last night that shows him, his technique and how he's able to stop the run and get pressure on the quarterback. But it's also against the fucking Dolphins, dude. Like, I literally watched the right guard just throw down a white flag before the play even started. So a white towel, whatever. So, I mean, would be great to see him take apart the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, which is one of the best in the league, but I don't know. Man, not trading Janoris Jenkins. I can see not trading Ogletree maybe because there's not like a huge market for him, even though he's put up some of the top grades on defense the past 3 games that he's actually played, the Bucks, Cards, and Lions. But the Ogletree is another case where it's like he's just not. What do these grades mean? I saw a play, Baldy's Breakdowns on Twitter, where like it's a run play and he goes with the fucking receiver in motion and leaving a huge gap because David Mayo takes on the fullback and there's a gap. Someone has to fill that gap. There's no safety in sight to fill the gap. I think Jabril Peppers came late. Bethea's out in the middle of nowhere. And Ogletree vacated. And I know that's one play out of a million, but like, I don't know that I've seen enough from Ogletree, and maybe this is why he didn't go, is because they don't have enough faith in Mayo to step up yet, and they're already thin at linebacker. So it's like, what are we gonna do? We signed Dayon Buchanan. Is he the answer? I don't know. Janoris Jenkins, though, I mean, that was like a foregone conclusion that he was gonna go. It was like, how is he still on the team? I mean, he's got all of next year. I get it. But what's your plan? You're going to go into with him as a starting quarter next year and then hopefully dish him before the deadline next year? I guess that's the case. They figured maybe you give him the second half of the season to pump up his statistics even more because that's the second in the league in interceptions or something like that. And if you get a lazy GM who doesn't look at tape and just looks at numbers on a stat sheet, then you can get someone to bite on him. It's weird the Chiefs didn't even. I mean, there had to be a discussion with the Chiefs. They have like Brashawn Breeland, who went down on the Sunday night game against the Packers. I mean, they're already banged up defensively at the corner position. They were interested in Jalen Ramsey, and nothing. I guess because Jenkins is like a Shermer guy. Shermer loves him. But I was surprised he didn't go to the Chiefs or something. And if you ever wondered why we didn't get Jalen Ramsey, well, it's because he knocked up Golden Tate's sister and then dumped her. Oh, boy. Yeah. And we're wearing our retro throwback road uniforms from like the 80s on Monday night. So that's a guaranteed loss. I mean, I love how they look. I think everyone loves how they look. We stink in those uniforms. We have not won a game in those uniforms. And so, I don't know. At some point, you got to take a look in the mirror and say, maybe not worth this aesthetic. All right. That's this week's show. Hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Real Cinch, Facebook.com/giantmess. Call the voicemail line. And leave anything on that voicemail line. Just whatever is in your, bouncing around your big old dome. 862-BIT 1986, 862-BIT 1986. And we'll see you next week. Adios, muchachos.